Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight? Or today, or whatever time it is for you. Yes, people are already talking about it in the chat. We are going to talk about the Titan submersible. This is actually a pretty cool article I found on it that got published today that I'm gonna show you guys. Oh yeah, there was a young 19-year-old on this death trap. So, since we are talking about that, I'm going to start with a bit of the human element of this story. We'll go over exactly what everyone knew in 2023. So, if you don't know, on this day, in 2023, it hit international news that, this experimental submersible submarine had gone missing on its way to the Titanic, and it had 5 people in it. And I don't fuck with how people were acting even at the time, where they were like, ha ha, billionaires are going to die. It's just crass. The only person in this story I will make fun of is the man who was the head of this company and really, really deluded himself into thinking he could make this thing work. And I'm going to show you how it's an absolute fucking miracle that he didn't get anyone killed sooner. So, but...
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. Hey, the door can't close. Should we stop? No, just seal us in.
Oh, that's the only way the sub worked, was sealing them in. It didn't have a door, it didn't have a hatch. They just screwed the front on and sent them on their way.
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. Alexander Anderson, specifically about Stockton only. Don't weep for the stupid. You'll be crying all day. Time to witness Darwinism in action.
Yes, Stockton Rush is the only one to blame in this situation. The people he took down with him in his suicidal shitbox don't deserve to be mocked. Their only crime is trusting that this guy knew what the fuck he was doing. You know? So this is a cool article on the Daily Mail. I know, Daily Mail. But check this out. They have some cool HTML5 going on. They start the article talking about the path of the Titanic, and the map in the background traces it as you scroll down, which is pretty cool, actually. I like this a lot. Look at this. This is awesome. This is very good use of your HTML5. So, that was just the history of the Titanic they're going over, but they start talking about the sub itself. So, because I think the last time somebody had been down to the Titanic was like 2005. It was probably James Cameron. If you didn't know, James Cameron, who made the Titanic movie, actually is super into, like, manned submersibles and has been down to the Titanic himself a few times, which is pretty fucking cool. So, Iron Lung, well, thankfully for them, it wasn't Iron Lung in real life. Hang on, let the supers come through.
Ian sent a super chat. Iron Lung in real life.
They weren't actually trapped running out of air like everyone assumed. They died pretty quickly. But we will get into that.
The QA signboard sent a super chat. Silly sigh. Billionaires aren't people.
Now, that's not nice. You can have compassion for people even if you don't like them on a class level. Personally, I'm a secular humanist, so I'm gonna be really, really gay and wibbly about that.
Angels Art and Gaming sent a super chat. Did you know Mr. Beast was invited but he declined? Imagine if frickin' Mr. Beast was there. That would be horrifying despite his reputation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm horrified for everybody in this situation except Rush himself. But yeah, he was always trying to, like, advertise and get notable people to go on his little shitbox to advertise his company. But it wasn't to make money, it was about his own ego. He was already rich.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. Can you hear me now? Well, shit.
No, they did not die of starvation. They died of a sudden catastrophic implosion. So we will get into that. Wow, see, this is why I'm doing this stream, because I was telling somebody the story in my Discord one night, and I just kept blowing her mind, and I was like, you really didn't know this? You really didn't know this? And then I think it was WF, who's been in my Discord for a while, was like, you should do a stream on it. And I was like, well, the anniversary's coming up, so hey. So, let's see. Yeah. Talking about how they called the passengers mission specialists to get around the law. I'll get into that. I just wanted to show off this article, which is pretty fucking cool. This is just the timeline of, And these were the victims of the incident. So there was Paul Henry Naugelet, who was actually a world-renowned Titanic expert. I have no idea why he trusted that Rush knew what he was doing. Nobody could ever get a straight answer out of him, except he was just like, I'm an old man, I can help them with safety, at least. So, but, like, you had to know this thing was unsafe. Stockton Rush was the founder and CEO of the company and the man behind this whole stupid project. Hamish Harding was a businessman, an entrepreneur who was an adventurer, and then there was Shadaza Daywood and Suleiman Daywood, who were a father and son, who were taking a trip for Father's Day for a little bit of bonding. That is the most tragic one here, that this poor kid lost his life in this, you know? You gotta feel worse for a 19-year-old whose life hadn't even started yet, more than these grown men, but at any rate, Stockton is the only one to blame here. Actually, I watched the BBC documentary, and it ends on Dawood's wife saying something pretty poignant, that the culprit died with them. Who am I to blame? You know, she was very just kind of stoic and accepting, it seems, you know? It was very heartbreaking.
Kitten Fart sent a super chat. If I don't learn anything new today, I'll stop paying my taxes.
Hopefully, I learned some new things from the documentaries that have been coming out, so hopefully I can pass that on to you. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of cool channels who I have been watching a lot during the whole, like, discussion about this, you know? So, The Dive. Actually, let's just read this part. At 8:55 a.m., Titan, having received the all clear to proceed, the launch platform submerged to the depth of 10 meters, where the final checks were made, including communications with the Polar Prince. The Polar Prince was their navigational ship. They had to have a ship actually tell the sub where to go, because they didn't have onboard navigation. Yes. Radio signals do not work underwater, so contact between the Titan and the surface is by means of short text messages. The deeper into the dive, the longer it takes for the messages to arrive. At this depth, the pressure hole would have been at 14.5 psi, similar to that needed to inflate a party balloon. At 9:14 a.m., the Titan was free from the platform. Yeah, okay, you're being a little flowery here. Just get to the point. So it's kind of... okay, so it went down. Oh, this is neat, though. So it's giving you an idea of the trajectory of this thing. And believe it or not, it actually made it to the Titanic and back 13 times. 13 times. It is a miracle that this thing lasted as long as it did. And we're gonna go over its construction and exactly what the fuck was wrong with it. So... let's see. No, this timeline is a little off, because I think at 9:45 was when they got the last message from it that it had dropped 2 weights. So, I think they had gotten close to the Titanic before the implosion. Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. 10:45 they lost tracking. So all of a sudden they lose tracking after getting a message that the sub is, dropping 2 weights. And what this thing would do was, when it needed to make an ascent, an emergency ascent, it was programmed to start dropping weights and stuff like that. So the concern I have is that where the actual implosion would have happened too quickly for their brains to even process it, something might have been happening right before the entire structure failed. Because why were they dropping the weights? So it could be they were hearing increasing cracking noises, and dropped the weights thinking, okay, we have to ascend, something's wrong, and then pff, it was over. So if you want an idea of what happened to this thing, here's a good demonstration from Bearded Science Guy. So this is what happens to a soda can when the outside pressure is more than the inside pressure. That's exactly what happened to the submarine. Just pop. Like that. We're gonna see it in slow motion. Now imagine this being a carbon fiber tube with 5 people sitting in it. And you get an idea of what happened to these people. And yeah, it's not good. Again, I'm not gonna make fun of the deaths of these men, but I am gonna make fun of Stockton himself.
Nostalgic Nerd 90 sent a super chat. James Cameron himself even warned him.
It was more than James Cameron. Pretty much anybody in the submersibles field wrote an open letter to Stockton Rush telling him, do not do this. And we're gonna read that too later, actually.
Jehudi sent a super chat. The guy literally thought that safety regulations were just arbitrary nonsense to keep cool guys like him from doing cool stuff.
Yeah, he was incredibly immature and reckless.
Sent a super chat. Jokes aside, this whole situation is something I've had nightmares about since I was a little kid. Wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Exactly, because, like, what happened at first is when people heard the sub was missing, they assumed they were lost and running out of air, and people were laughing about that. And it's like, that's a horrible thing to say. Imagine being in that situation, sealed in a tiny metal tube, slowly suffocating. That's an awful thing to laugh at, you know? I don't fuck with that attitude.
Cinder the Deer sent a super chat. It'll be a strange day when someone goes down to find the ruins of OceanGate, sharing the same fate as the Titanic, entombed underwater.
Oh, actually, they recovered the remains of the vessel. We'll look at that toward the end of the stream.
Taylor Wynn sent a super chat. Stockton soup.
I disavow slightly. Again, if it had only been Stockton Rush who got himself killed in his little shitbox, I would be way meaner about this.
Jack Thorso sent a super chat. Wiki sigh, giving me the fun cliff notes of things I haven't looked into before. Well, this is less fun, suppose.
Well, hey, we're gonna put it to the test. You guys say you like listening to me spurg about just about anything, so we'll see if I can keep your interest through this.
Sent a super chat. Well, on the bright side, at least since that rich putz died so deep down, he got a head start on his way to hell.
I mean, also, he wanted to be remembered. I guess, somewhere a monkey's paw went... Yeah.
Cryohazard sent a super chat. If I remember correctly, a ton of people warned others to go around the Titanic because of the pressure, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even just the pressure, because the Titanic is 2.5 miles under the ocean. And if you don't know, the pressure from that much water is more intense than going to outer space. It is easier for us to build machines to go to outer space and go to Mars than it is to build machines that can actually explore our ocean. Our ocean is less known to us than the space around us, which is crazy. But that's also what inspired Stockton Rush to get into submersibles. He was an aerospace guy. That was his engineering degree, aerospace. He wanted to be an astronaut. Couldn't be an astronaut because he had bad eyesight. And so he basically figured, well, the ocean is even more unexplored. I'll be the innovator of the oceans. But he's kind of like, for a nerdy reference, he's kind of like David Cage. David Cage really wishes he could make movies. David Cage can't make movies. David Cage makes video games instead and does not respect the field he's in at all. Basically the same situation here.
Angels Art and Gaming sent a super chat. New fear unlocked.
Like I said, though, at least with the implosion itself, it happened too quickly for their brains to even process it. But again, there could have been sounds of the vessel failing immediately before then, and we're gonna hear some of those sounds, because it was always making those sounds, apparently.
Laneying sent a super chat. Yeah, the reactions to this incident were pretty unhinged. But, that's ideologues for ya. Oh, and tell them about the controls.
Oh, I will, don't worry. See, the funny thing is, I'm not that into machinery or underwater exploration. What really interests me is accidents and catastrophes and disasters that were 100% preventable. Just 100% preventable. Like, you didn't have to do any of this.
Rosie sent a super chat. Aerospace? So he took a Boeing approach.
He bragged about getting, expired leftover materials from Boeing to build his shitty submarine, yes. Again, it's a miracle this thing actually made it down to the Titanic 13 times. I don't believe in God, but the only thing I can think is, even God gave up on this guy. He had 1,000,000,001 chances to stop doing this. Until he finally got himself and 4 other people killed. Anyway, we're gonna move on, because again, I wanna emphasize the human element. So there was some footage that was released recently. I have the supers paused for a second, so don't mind that, guys. So, I have like a little document off to the side here for me to... So, this is footage from June 18th of Wendy Rush, Stockton Rush's wife, up on the Polar Prince helping navigate. And they actually hear the sound of the implosion. They don't realize it at this moment, but they actually hear it. Where's the point where they... Oh, let's just play the whole video. It's only 2 minutes.
400 meters to go.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to picture it.
Maybe about 500 meters, 30. What was that thing?
It's a little hard to hear.
Yeah, it should be about 500 meters, 30.
You hear that thud, that little pop. They're actually hearing the implosion deep, deep, deep underwater here, and don't realize it yet. But right after this, the sub says it dropped 2 weights, and then they lose all comms. So the message was probably sent before the implosion, but only reached them after it. But sound can travel very far under the water. There was an underwater monitoring system 900 miles away that also caught the sound of the implosion. But you can see on her face she's concerned. But they had such a culture of denial at OceanGate, and this almost cult-like mentality. But I mean, you gotta sympathize with this. She just heard her husband die and doesn't even know it yet, you know, and that's very sad.
Happy Chapter 100 sent a super chat, sponsored by Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop.
That was a great super chat to come after my sincere, empathetic
Cryohazard
words.
sent a super chat. Then you gotta watch out for the giant and colossal squids, because they'll pull things down if they're not too curious enough.
Oh yeah, we didn't even think giant squids were real until like a couple decades ago, right?
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. How many atmospheres can this spaceship handle? I'd say between 1 and 0.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, because in space, the pressure comes from it being a vacuum. It's more like it's gonna rip you apart from the inside, whereas underwater, it's all the pressure pressing in onto the outside that's gonna get you. So space will explode you, sea will implode you, basically.
The QA signboard sent a super chat. The submarine exploding under pressure kind of reminds me of the Byford dolphin incident.
Is that what a bunch of dolphins exploded? Don't quite
Nick
remember.
Wolf sent a super chat. Can't help but think of Futurama. That's over 150 atmospheres of pressure.
That's the second
How many
reference.
can the ship take? It's a spaceship, so anywhere between 0 and 1. Taylor Wynn sent a super chat. I couldn't write something like that.
I know, it's absolutely remarkable that we have this footage. But yeah, so they heard, I mean, an implosion would be loud. Like, very loud. So that's why they were able to hear it on the surface. But again, it sounded like a bang somewhere in their ship. So they were all kind of just confused. Like, what the hell was that just now? But, I mean, I have a feeling they all knew this was dangerous deep, deep down. And they had people in their own company that they muscled out of the company, tried to warn them. And again, we're going to go over that as well.
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. There's nothing worse than human lives being lost because of arrogance and ignorance.
Exactly. Like, this is just a completely wasteful loss of life. All because of one man's ego. All because a mediocre white man convinced a bunch of people he knew what the fuck he was doing when he didn't.
Lolo27234 sent a super chat. My hockey team just won the cup in a Psy stream.
Hey, that's some good news after all that heavy shit. So, yeah, I am going to approach this in a kind way, but I am not going to be kind to Stockton Rush himself, because he is the idiot who caused all of this.
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. What angers me about the Netflix film was the news clip of "Is this a conspiracy to keep us from learning about the Titanic?" Real with PPL brain rot.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. Overall, I do like the Netflix documentary, though. It's one of those documentaries where they just have interviews and archival footage that they string together in a narrative. I like that kind of documentary. The BBC documentary is way more of a classic, typical, sensationalist, 60-minute special type of documentary, but they're both valuable, and they both taught me some new things that we're gonna go over today. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, James Cameron is actually one of the foremost experts in the world on deep-sea diving and submersibles, and he absolutely tried to warn him against this shit,
Miss Jasmine sent a super chat. Apologies in advance for the dark joke. Alexa, play Queens Under Pressure.
Yeah, you guys can make dark jokes. I'm just gonna disavow. Anyway, let me move on to what I have here. So what we're gonna do for this stream is I'm going to do full screen for a lot of the info at first, and then once we move on to some different videos, I'm gonna show you guys. We'll switch to me drawing on the with the distracto vision in the corner like we usually do. So it's gonna be a half and half art stream today. So next week will probably be full art stream while we laugh at some more Has-Been Hotel shit. There's a bit of levity after this. So let me. Oh, first thing I have after Miss Wendy Rush, or Mrs. Wendy Rush, I should call her. That's a little rude to call her Miss, is their own promotional video. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at how OceanGate build themselves. I'm gonna pause my music for a second.
OceanGate Expeditions offers you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a specially trained crew member safely diving to the Titanic wreckage.
So safely, yeah. Specially trained crew member. So this is one of the things Stockton Rush did to get around U.S. law and regulation. He had the company registered in the Bahamas. He would launch out of Canada into international waters. And he would call his paying passengers mission specialists so he could get around laws about paying passengers. Because in the U.S., you can have your little shitbox submersible, do whatever the fuck you want with it. As soon as you are having people pay you money to ride in it, you have to get classed. You're under regulation. So in order to avoid getting the damn thing classed, he just called these people mission specialists instead of paying passengers. So he did everything he could to skirt around U.S. law and regulation. And he went unnoticed for the longest time doing this shit.
Site. Get ready for what Jules Verne could only imagine. A 12,500-foot journey to the bottom of the sea. It's the OceanGate Titanic experience. Earning raves from those who've taken our unforgettable dives.
There's no other trip like this. Fewer people have been to Titanic than have been to space.
It's tougher to go to the bottom of the ocean than it is to the far side of the moon.
I mean, that's what I've been saying. It's true, too. It is true.
We saw things that maybe human eyes have never seen before.
Whoa.
Plenty of human eyes have seen the Titanic before you, buddy.
This is not a...
This is how they would launch it as well. It would have to go into the water on this thingy off the ship that towed it out there. They could only launch in international waters because otherwise they would be under regulation. Looking at the bumps on the side, I think this is the Cyclops. This is the one they had before the Titan. So this one I think actually had a hatch. The Titan did not have a hatch. They would bolt it closed from the outside, and there was no way to get out from the inside. Which is absolutely fucking insane.
thrill ride for tourists. It's much more. It is an 8-day, one-of-a-kind experience. You will be trained as a mission specialist and record valuable findings.
A citizen scientist is also
One guy interviewed said they basically just had them doing monkey work to justify calling them mission specialists.
involved in the science. They are doing jobs that are essential to the scientific research, not just busy work. We are looking at the process of degradation at the site. We are trying to make a really good map of the site and its current state.
This is not tourism. You're contributing.
It's not a ride at Disney, you know. There's a lot of real risk involved, and there's a lot of challenges.
We partnered with aerospace experts at the University of Washington.
Lies. Lies, lies, lies. greatly exaggerated how much these organizations actually worked with him. He was full of shit.
NASA and Boeing on the design of our hull.
Every time you take to the sea, there's so many things that have to go right. All the electrical systems and navigation systems that have to check out. This is a very complex
navigation system. Well, it didn't have a navigation system. It had to get text messages from a ship above it in the ocean in order to know where the fuck it was going. Again, it's a miracle he didn't get anyone killed sooner.
vehicle.
Titan topside, you are out at 130 meters. We are in position for the dive.
It's very well engineered and very safe, but then the team is very focused on safety first.
The communication.
And again, you see this guy they're interviewing is like a NASA guy. They're all aerospace people. They don't know anything about deep sea machinery. Those are two very different fields.
Safety first.
The communication is really key, I think, knowing that they never lost communication.
Equestrian, master chef. Yeah, these people are experts.
1 second of me experiencing anything from OceanGate have I ever felt unsafe.
As I pointed out on the bridge earlier, your safety plans all around the vessel.
All
No, this is
mission
gonna be so
specialists
ironic
get to
later.
dive down to the Titanic, but the full experience entails much more. It begins with boarding.
Okay. I don't think we need to watch this whole damn thing. They're just, like, gassing themselves up. But this is how they sold themselves to people. So, yeah. Just get you an idea of that. So let's talk about the sub itself. I got a bunch of materials on it right here. Actually, I'll let some supers go through while I gather those up. I'll also the video play in the background.
Sign Board sent a super chat. The Byford Dolphin incident involves a group of saturation divers in a pressure chamber. Due an error in sealing the chamber, it became a vacuum, causing the divers to explode in milliseconds.
Ooh, I think I have heard of that, actually.
Steph the Scientist sent a super chat for a great recent book about rich morons, More Everything Forever by Adam Becker. It covers the move fast / break things mentality of Silicon Valley.
Oh god.
Bean sent a super chat. Killer Queen has already touched the submarine.
I'm not gonna play ironic songs, you guys. Be good, behave.
Mr. Nemo sent a super chat. Man could have built an Alvin type sub.
Let's look up what an Alvin type sub is real quick. I'm curious now. Not Alvin and the Chipmunks, Google. Oh, one of these dudes. Yeah, these are what real fucking submersibles look like. That's the other thing. He was insistent that he was going to get 5 people in this thing, when most actual competent submersibles only hold about 1 or 2 people. This one does 3, apparently. That's pretty big. But yeah, this is what a real, underwater small submersible looks like. That are safe and made entirely of fucking titanium.
Nostalgic Nerd 90 sent a super chat. Let's be honest, the wreck of Titanic is dangerous in general. I think Britannic, the sister ship of Titanic, is a better visit.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go to shipwrecks,
Master
really.
Clockwork sent a super chat. My first red flag, having gate in the name.
I mean, it's kind of a clever name. It's like, we're the gateway to the ocean for the common man. That's really what they were kind of, like, selling themselves on as well.
Paco601 sent a super chat. Just dropping by to say hi, Sai. Currently on an airplane with the destination for vacation. Have fun learning how a submarine got crushed like a soda can with billionaires in it.
Oh, I don't need to learn. I know. I'm just telling people. But yeah, you're much safer in that aeroplane than anybody ever was in this fucking little shitbox of a submarine.
Cryohazard sent a super chat. Oh goodness, he made Megatron's panic bubble.
I mean, kind of.
Miss Jasmine sent a super chat. I wonder how many of these people involved with OceanGate are now considered unemployable due to this shit.
I don't know, because a lot of people left before, like, the big disaster, because they could see that he was gonna get somebody killed. I mean, I don't think anyone's heard much from the people that were working there at the time this happened. There are a few people few former workers who were interviewed in the Netflix documentary, especially.
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. It might just be because my grandpa was in the Navy for national service, but it baffles me that some people don't grasp how dangerous the sea can be.
It baffles me how dangerous people don't grasp a lot of things in nature are. I watch a lot of videos on, like, scuba diving disasters and Mount Everest disasters and, you know, caving disasters. And it's like, why do people do this? Why do they underestimate nature so fucking much? I don't understand.
Sent a super chat. If I see them start belting me in, I bolt away.
Dude, all I had to hear was it was made of carbon fiber to say I would never get in that fucking thing.
Lisa Harder sent a super chat. Didn't NASA warn OceanGate that the sub was a bad idea?
I think so. We're gonna look at the open letter they were sent by a bunch of industry professionals a little later.
Adruk sent a super chat. Here from the dark tide. What did I miss?
Not much. Yeah, not much. Boop. I can't talk. Not much. I'm just setting up the story mostly at this point. We just have one of their promotional videos playing in the background at the moment.
Paco601 sent a super chat. One more thing. Vacation tax.
That's right. You owe me. You owe me for you going on vacation. How dare you? Anyway. So, actually, the next item I had on the list was, let's see what their website looks like right now. OceanGate Expeditions has suspended all exploration and commercial operations. Yeah, you damn skippy, they did. After that shit. Their website was up for a while this was going on, though. So the Wayback Machine, of course, has a bunch of snapshots of it.
Awesomeness. Sent a super chat. James Cameron is tight. He also coughed up the ransom money to help Guillermo del Toro when his dad was kidnapped.
Guillermo del Toro's dad got kidnapped? When did that happen?
The QA signboard sent a super chat. I love the ocean, but I respect the hell out of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just respect the hell out of nature. But I mean, I guess I've always been kind of science-minded, but I'm not an expert on anything. I think a lot of this, too, highlights the general scientific illiteracy of people, you know?
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. Carbon fiber?
I'm not an engineer. I can't even do math in my head, but I can tell you that carbon fiber under the ocean is a very bad idea.
Sent a super chat. Turns out the gate to the ocean should have had abandoned all hope, all here and here written on it.
Well, the sub itself should have, yeah.
Miss Jasmine sent a super chat. Respect and fear the ocean tax.
Respect
ocean
and fear the... Yes. Respect and fear the ocean. Also, it gives us lots of delicious things to eat.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. It was made out of something weak, like paper mache. Or radix.
I can't be mad at a Team 4-star reference.
WF sent a super chat. Side check out the CSB for more accidents.
USCSB. I think I heard. Is that like another recent disaster? Oh, that's just the board. Yeah. Oh God, we don't need to go into any other disasters today.
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. To quote JFK, we must go to the moon not because it is easy, but because we're a bunch of fucking cloud-chasing adrenaline junkies, goddammit.
America, yeah!
Taylor Wynn sent a super chat. They kept that thing out in the Canadian winter weather and still put it in the water.
Oh yeah, don't worry, I got that on my list of things to talk about, don't you worry. Anyway, so this is what their website looks like at the time, just kind of a time capsule of, here's a picture of Stockton in the shitbox at the Titanic, so to his credit, it did make it there and back 13 times. But, you know... Bro, you could have just said you did it at that point. You could have stopped. You could have reassessed. But he was determined to prove that his ideas and his ignoring of safety regulations would work. The thing that drives me crazy about him, too, is he would always boast, well, there hasn't been any deaths in submersibles for 50 years. It's incredibly safe. And it's like... Yeah, dude, it's because they follow all of these strict safety guidelines that you're ignoring. You can't just say, I'm in submersibles now, so that safety record is my safety record.
Jack Thorso sent a super chat. They should have made the sub from galvanized steel. Ha reference.
I wonder if that would work, though, actually. Usually submarines are made out of titanium because it's very unlikely to crunch under the pressure of the fucking ocean. You know? So, they have a bunch of testimonials. They did, I think they did most of the dives between 2021 and 2023. It wasn't until, like, what they called Dive 80, because they numbered all of them, even the testing ones, that the thing was clearly failing, and a bunch of dives got canceled before the fatal one. So, yeah. But he would always bill it as, oh, we're bringing the deep ocean to the common man, but it was really just about his own fucking ego. Let me see here. So, here's another good one from the Daily Mail. I know they're not the best source in the world, but this is just a picture I wanted to use. This is, a little guide to how the sub was. So, they would cram 5 fucking people in there. This little seat at the viewing port was also the toilet. And the hole was made of carbon fiber. So if you know anything about carbon fiber as a material, it is very durable. However, it's in the name. Fiber. It is a material made of layers and layers and layers of weaved material, which is something you don't want having tons of PSI of pressure put on, because those layers will start to come apart from each other and break apart gradually until the whole thing just suddenly fails, which is exactly what happened. It was delaminating this entire time, and they could hear it delaminating, but he insisted that, oh, we'll have plenty of warning from the acoustic monitoring system if it starts making too many popping noises, and we'll totally be able to make it back to the surface in time. Obviously, they could not. So it had titanium on either side, glued with industrial glue. They didn't even bolt it on. It was glued. The hull itself was made of carbon fiber material that they started finding holes and flaws in, so they just sanded it down and sprayed it with Rhino bed liner. Rhino, like, you know, pickup truck bed liner to go 2 miles under the ocean. Yeah. Yeah. So, there's that. Yeah, glue. Fucking glue. And they would just bolt this titanium viewport on and send the people on their way. So even if the first scenario people thought was happening, that they were running out of oxygen and were lost, even if that was the scenario, which it wasn't, if they had managed to surface, they wouldn't be able to open it from the inside anyway. So if that had been the scenario, they could have very well surfaced, still not been found, and just suffocated to death anyway. So this whole thing was a death trap. From the start, it was a fucking death trap. I'll let a few more supers go while I get my next item.
Lisa Harder sent a super chat. Stockton was not familiar with the story of Icarus.
No. Not at all. Or the story of the Titanic itself, because he kept boasting that this thing is unsinkable and is not going to fail. You know, just like the fucking Titanic. Like, it was like he was tempting fate.
John Williams sent a super chat. I remember this guy was interviewed and he bragged about firing anyone that suggests changes from his designs.
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna see some of his interviews. Don't worry, I got a few of those in here too.
Ed Stevens sent a super chat. I trust anything made by a TMNT Donnie before trusting anything made by a bored billionaire.
Now come on, some billionaires are innovators, but yeah, Stockton was convinced he could become the next Elon Musk. Like, he was a Musk fanboy. That tells you everything you need to know about him.
The guy 493 sent a super chat. Okay, the chemical toilet in the front of the sub there. Forget everything else, it must have stank in that sub.
You can just poop right in the front. It's fine. They had a curtain, though. They had a curtain. So, you know, there was privacy.
Errand Alpha Eagle sent a super chat. Is this the same sub that was RC'd by a game controller?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We'll get into that. Don't worry. So, here's a thing that somebody just mentioned earlier. So, in the winter season, when they weren't able to do any dives, they just left it out in the elements, in the winter, in a shipping parking lot. Now, if you know anything about the cold, when it comes to materials, cold and heat will make materials contract and expand. So it was just sitting out there. Well, it wouldn't rust because it's carbon fiber and titanium, but it's sitting out there all winter with the carbon fiber material constantly contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding, which is going to weaken it. So they just left it out there because it was too expensive to cart it back to their headquarters. So Stockton was like, nah, it's too expensive. We'll just leave it out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. These photos were taken on December 4th, 2022, as I was in the port of St. John's. I work on a cargo ship, and as we were getting into St. John's, the harbor pilot told us about OceanGate and their dive missions to the Titanic Rent. I had never heard of OceanGate, but the local pilots had nothing positive to say about them, I'm sure, and the way they operated. Again, this was kind of only known to people within the industry until the implosion, and then everybody found out about this. You know, they basically told us to go look at it because it would make the news at some point in the future. Based. We got off the ship, it was right there, unprotected. Anyone within the limits of the port could go touch it or tamper with it. They have security cameras and a guard, but still, I thought it was just insane and was not surprised when I saw the news the following summer. Yeah. So they just left it out in a fucking parking lot, completely uncovered, all winter long, in St. John's, Newfoundland, so it gets pretty fucking cold there. And again, it was only glued on, and the material it was glued to would have been contracting and expanding over and over again, which would just weaken it and weaken the holds.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. This is the worst episode of Sequest.
If only, like, C-Lab 2021 was still going, they could have made fun of this.
sent a super chat. You're right. They did get the popping warning. It was just only one.
Well, actually, if in the Netflix documentary, it is shown that even in their testing dives in the Bahamas, you could hear, you didn't even need the acoustic monitoring system, you could hear the thing delaminating in real time. And I'm gonna play you guys some of that audio later.
Sent a super chat. I built snow forts tougher than that shit can.
But yeah, it just shows how grossly neglectful they were here, you know? Just absolutely no care for safety, and this guy just thought he was invincible. He thought he could just will reality to go his way, and nothing bad would happen to him, and it'll totally work, and he'll be one of the big swinging dicks of the industry, as he liked to say, apparently, according to the Netflix documentary. He liked to call Elon Musk a big swinging dick, and he wanted to be a big swinging dick, too. Well, he certainly was a dick. So here's a dive they did in 2021. As they were putting it down the ramp into the water, the bolts holding the titanium viewport on exploded off, and it just fell off as they were launching people into the water. And they still didn't take this as a sign that they should stop. Now, I didn't even know about this until I saw the BBC documentary personally. And what they said in the BBC documentary was this thing had 16 bolts you could put in, and they only ever put in 4. So they would just bolt it on with 4 bolts and send it under the fucking ocean. And as they were setting it into the ocean on this dive, it just fucking fell off. But yeah, he totally safe, totally knows what he's doing. Totally knows what he's doing. Again, he had so many chances to not do this.
Dana_Brain sent a super chat. Every new thing just makes me say, what?
Precisely why I wanted to do this stream, because when I was explaining it to my buddy in my Discord, that was her reaction, like, what do you mean? What? Like, every new thing I said, she was losing her mind. So I was like, oh, this could be a fun stream, actually.
Kitten Fart sent a super chat. Rush is the Ted Pharaoh of the ocean.
Like I said, he's gonna be remembered. He got his wish, kinda, yeah?
Taylor Wynn sent a super chat, held together with paper clips and prayer.
Basically, like, he was determined that he was gonna make carbon fiber work, and he was gonna be a maverick innovator who breaks the rules and does a new thing. But he was always like, well, why hasn't anyone tried using carbon fiber before? It's like, because anybody who knows anything about the pressure of the ocean knows that material will inevitably fail. That's why. Like, I'm not even an engineer. I'm not a scientist. I'm an idiot. You know? I had trouble putting together my fucking computer, and I could tell you that carbon fiber is a suicidally idiotic idea.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. OceanGate, the Boeing of the seas.
I mean, he did brag about getting discount carbon fiber from Boeing. They had to, according to, I think it was the Netflix documentary, which I'm not going to show too much of it on screen because I don't want to get copyright struck. And I encourage you to watch it because it's very good. They did have to rebuild the hull at one point because there was a huge crack through the entire thing. And they hid that from the public and just said, oh, we lost our towing vessel and we can't do any launches this year. Whoopsie. And they just never told anybody about that big, giant crack in the middle of the hull. But Stockton just kept going on because he just kept beating his head against it because I guess the sunk cost fallacy, hubris, and ego, he could not be wrong. He could not be an idiot. He could not, you know, he could not accept that, like, his ideas were stupid and were not going to work. He had to prove everyone wrong, and it got him killed. And again, if it had only gotten him killed, I would be a lot meaner about this. But he got 4 other people killed, is the problem. You know? Otherwise, I would have no fucking qualms about making fun of his ass.
Jack Thorso sent a super chat. This is like when Elon bought Twitter. An absolute disaster where every mistake was made. Except Twitter just became a cesspool and this killed people.
Yeah, it's funny that he tried to rename Twitter X and people still just call it Twitter because you have like the most enviable branding in the world and you try to change it. He's a fucking idiot. And Elon Musk is another one. Like, I'm not an engineer, but I could tell you the Hyperloop was never gonna fucking work. Like, why do people think he's a genius? Just because he's a white guy who talks confidently? That's exactly what happened here, too!
Taylor Wynn sent a super chat. Wasn't there an entire episode of Investigation Discovery that never aired because the host didn't want to give OceanGate publicity cause it'd get people killed?
Oh, I'm not sure. As I know, there is some footage from Discovery, I think, that I have in my list here. So, yeah, because I think they do have some old footage of somebody interviewing him or something. Maybe it never aired. I'm not sure. I hadn't heard that particular detail, but that is interesting. We might have to look that up later if we have the chance. So here's another thing. Here's another wild thing. This is even more wild than the fucking game controller. So, this was a picture discovered recently. It appears their monitor was screwed directly into the carbon fiber hull. Like, this is what we're seeing, right, guys? They fucking screwed it right into the hole. And again, like I said before, a material like carbon fiber is weaved in layers. And if any of those layers are compromised, the whole structure will eventually go. And again, it's exactly what happened. The entire structure was straining and groaning and gradually coming apart until finally, poof, it just imploded. Because it couldn't take it anymore. That's delamination. Delamination will just keep going and going and going until it hits a point, and then all of a sudden, boom, the whole thing goes. You know? So, yeah, bolting your fucking monitor directly into the carbon fiber hull was probably not the best idea for its structural integrity. Like, the fuck? And this was to go 2 miles under the ocean. How stupid can you be? Just get a monitor stand and glue it to the floor! What is the matter with you?
Miss Jasmine sent a super chat. Listening to experts. No. All we need is glue, sparkles emoji, nail polish emoji.
Again, like I said, there seems to be this culture of just denial and delusion that they had at OceanGate. So we're gonna look at a couple of more items here before we get to the videos of Stockton himself showing off the sub, so you guys can get an idea of exactly what it was like. This was the open letter. I think about 100 people were behind this. Okay, well, there's a few blanked out names here. So this was an open letter from a bunch of professionals warning him to not fucking do this and to cease these operations.
Will you face sent a super chat?
Oh, thank you for the blank super chat. I don't know if you intended something to be in there, if it was a sticker. Sometimes stickers do that.
Sent a super chat. Rich pricks cutting corners without realizing why the corners were there is pretty standard emo, as anyone who worked in a factory/office will tell ya.
I know, but it's just like, I don't understand how he didn't understand the danger of deep sea exploration. Like people are saying, even in their promotional videos, it is easier to go to space than it is to go to the deep sea. It's crazy. So let's see what this says. This was written in 2018, because I think they started the business in 2009 or something like that, and they only started having their actual submersibles around 2017, 2018. So, and at first they were only going to like coral reefs and shit, you know, which is fine, whatever, that's a little safer, but yeah. Oh, Ryu is still not coming through for some reason. Just hates you.
Face sent a super chat, meant to say, there are successful carbon fiber submarines. OceanGate's execution and safety testing was just terrible.
Yeah, but, do they go to that depth, though? Yeah, I don't think there are actually... They're using it's used in pressure vessels, according to this. It's scuba tanks. But they don't use it as the exterior of a submarine for a good reason.
Steph the scientist sent a super chat. Even Elon isn't Elon. Have you seen his starship?
Does Elon Musk have a starship?
Oblivion Blade TT sent a super chat. Oh, we talking about the reinforced Pringlekin today? On one hand, people died, but on the other hand, anybody that didn't think themselves invincible could tell you that it was doomed.
Yeah, I mean, Oblivion Blade, I was saying earlier, as far as the passengers who died go, their biggest mistake was trusting that this guy knew what he was doing. You know, I mean, again, general scientific illiteracy about the limits of materials and human bodies in the deep ocean, sure, but really their biggest mistake was trusting this guy. Stockton, though, has no goddamn excuse. He was warned a billion times, and we're gonna look at that, actually, after this next super chat.
Errand Alpha Eagle sent a super chat. That letter can't stop me because I can't read. Stockton, channeling his inner.
Probably. So anyway, dear Stockton, this letter is sent on behalf of our industry members who have collectively expressed unanimous concern regarding the development of Titan and the planned Titanic expedition. Our apprehension is that the current experimental approach adopted by OceanGate could result in negative outcomes, from minor to catastrophic, and it did. That would be serious consequences for everyone in the industry. I mean, luckily, in the end, most people have accepted that Stockton Rush was just an idiot and did this to himself. So, yeah, I don't think it's really had that bad of an impact on the image of submersibles in general. The MUV industry has earned itself an enviable safety track record over the past 40 years. This is partly due to the diligent engineering discipline and professional approach exercised by members of the industry, but also due to the collective observation of and adherence to a variety of safety standards. This reputation is solid because it was hard-won over many years of diligence, application, and has resulted in resulted in a safe and successful record of operation. Our members are all aware of how important and precious this standing is and deeply concerned that a single negative event could undo this. So people who actually understand the dangers of nature and going that deep in the ocean, yeah, you have to be very disciplined and diligent and, like, anal about safety in order to do this, you know, which he was not. Your marketing material advertises that the Titan design will meet or exceed the DNVGL safety standards, yet it does not appear that OceanGate has the intention of following class rules. Your representation is, at minimum, misleading to the public and breaches an industry-wide professional code of conduct we all endeavor to uphold, which is precisely why he registered his business in the Bahamas and launched out of Canada so he could completely circumvent U.S. regulations. We do all agree that a performance-based testing program for design verification is a recognized and valid approach to new technologies. However, we recommend that at a minimum you institute a prototype testing program that is reviewed and witnessed by DNVGL or ABS. While this may demand additional time and expense, it is our unanimous view that this validation process by a third party is a critical component in the safeguards that protect all submersible occupants. Together, we are all beneficiaries of the excellent safety record of MUV operations over the years, but each one of us is also a steward with a responsibility to sustain this achievement. We would be grateful if you could confirm that OceanGate can see the future benefit of its investment in adhering to our industry-accepted safety guidelines and protocols for ultimate success, and that of the community. Can't talk anymore, whatever. But yeah, so in 2018... pretty much every fucking industry professional got together to write him this letter and say, dude, you need to stop. You are not following safety protocols. You are going to get someone killed. And ultimately, he did.
The guy 493 sent a super chat. Safety standards were written in blood.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you cannot fuck with the ocean at that depth. The absolute pressure. I mean, there were no bodies to find. The energy released by the implosion basically vaporized them all instantly. If there was any matter left, it was probably picked apart by fishes. So, really, I think all that was found of Stockton was a couple of business cards, a pen, and half of his sleeve or something.
Oblivion Blade TT sent a super chat. Oh, absolutely. I feel bad for the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Sorta bad about the others. Stockton, I feel nothing for. Men's march straight into a watery grave with gusto.
And as I keep saying, if it was only him, if he had only gotten himself killed, I would be way meaner about all this. I would. But when it comes to, the other passengers, I want to be respectful. So, here is something else I found on Reddit. Is an email exchange between Stockton Rush and a guy named Rob McCallum. So, who is Rob McCallum? Well, Rob McCallum is part of a thing called IOS Expeditions, and he has quite a pedigree. Deep ocean exploration, let's see. Rob is the deepest diving New Zealander, having attained full ocean depth in the Challenger Deep in 2021. That's pretty fucking impressive, actually. So this guy is basically an uber expert when it comes to boats and submersibles and basically doing anything in the ocean. So this guy sent Stockton Rush an email. So Rob McCallum says, you are wanting to use a prototype unclassed technology in a very hostile place. As much as I appreciate entrepreneurship and innovation, you are potentially putting an entire industry at risk. And Stockton says, I know that our engineering-focused innovative approach, as opposed to an existing standards of compliance focused on design process, flies in the face of the submersible orthodoxy, but that is the nature of innovation. So this guy really thought, he's like, I'm just smarter than everybody else. They just haven't used carbon fiber because they just aren't smart enough to make it work. Like me, the genius. Again, it's part sunk cost fallacy, part ego, part just fucking psychopathic hubris, I think. I have grown tired of industry players who try to use a safety argument to stop innovation. And new entrants from entering their small existing market. Yeah, buddy, they were just trying to keep you out personally and weren't just, like, actually concerned about you dying and killing other people with you. Since Gilmo and I started OceanGate, we have heard the baseless cries of "you are going to kill someone" way too often. I take this as a serious personal insult. Bro, it was never personal. You were gonna get someone killed, and you did get someone killed, including you! I'm yelling at him like there's still somebody to yell at, but you know, this is just my style, just arguing with things like it's a conversation. And Rob McCallum says, I think you are potentially placing yourself and your clients in a dangerous dynamic. Ironically, in your race to Titanic, you are mirroring the famous catch cry of "she is unsinkable." Having dived the Titanic and having stood in a coroner's court as a technical expert, it would be remiss of me to not bring this to your attention. So here he is just blowing off like a dude with like one of the most impressive pedigrees when it comes to ocean exploration you could possibly find. He wouldn't even listen to this guy. This goes to show he was determined to somehow make this magically work no matter what. Let some supers come through.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. I could hear real engineering face bombing as I read that.
Yeah, right. Like, he's writing this in such a polite way when he really wants to say, "You fucking dumbass, you are going to kill people!"
Langing sent a super chat. I mean, you can still be mean towards Stockton.
Oh, and I will.
Respectful towards the actual victims.
Oh, I will! I was very sympathetic toward his wife, who unknowingly heard the sound of the implosion as it was happening. And again, I just, when it comes to the other 4 passengers, just pointless waste of life. Caused by Stockton and nobody else.
Steph the scientist sent a super chat. Sorry for rocket splurging. The Challenger disaster was almost 40 years ago. Why do these guys think that engineers are just trying to ruin their fun?
The Challenger explosion is another one that's an interesting preventable disaster. But that one was more down to neglect. Because I think what ultimately caused the Challenger explosion was like one busted heat panel that nobody bothered to fix, and that's really all it took. And that was another, you know, big famous disaster that really could have been prevented. But you know, they were gonna film it, and there was a school teacher on board, and it was a big news thing, so we had to make this thing launch. You know, that busted heat panel's probably gonna be fine. And then yeah.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Sunk cost. Good one.
I wasn't even trying to make a pun, that's just what it's called.
Lisa Harder sent a super chat. And this is why daredevils shouldn't build a submarine.
Yeah, he should have just gone and been a daredevil, and then he would have just gotten only himself killed, probably.
Angels Art and Gaming sent a super chat. Yelling "that's you" to a dead guy is great.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna go drive to the beach after this, stand on the edge of the ocean and go, "Stockton, that's you!"
Taylor Wynn sent a super chat. Sigh, stop yelling at ghosts.
No! I'm angry at this ghost. He's an asshole, not this guy, Stockton.
Dana_brain sent a super chat. Old woman yells at ghosts.
That's what you guys can just tell everybody the stream is about. There you go. Oh, God. So let's look at also, here was their famous waiver that they made people sign to go on the ship box. I don't want to download it. Get out of here. So this is their liability agreement. How long? It's 3 fucking pages long. Probably not gonna read the whole damn thing, but let's see. I blank acknowledge that I have voluntarily applied to participate in a submersible operation arranged by OceanGate Expeditions. Blah 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 blah. Let's see. I do believe it says like the word death is in here quite a number of times. Yes. If a board could cause injury or death, I understand that damage, injury, disability, or death. Damage, injury, disability, or death. Injury, disability, emotional trauma, death. Failure of the submersible leading to death. damage, injury, disability, and death, or my property, or resulting in my death, the risk of bodily injury, disability, death, and property damage. Death, 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 death. Oh, God. Let's see, let's just read this first portion. 1. The operation includes activities involving subsurface vessels, surface vessels, and/or remotely operated vehicles that are on, near, or under the water. A portion of the operation will be conducted inside an experimental submersible vessel. The experimental submersible vessel has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and may be constructed of material that has not been widely used in human-occupied submersibles. You don't fucking say! When diving below the ocean surface, this vessel will be subject to extreme pressure, and any failure of the vessel while I am aboard could cause severe injury or death. I understand that I may decline to participate in any dive below the ocean surface or any activity of the operation at any time. Well, can you, like, decline when you're already down there? I don't think you can. God's sakes. But again, they knew! They had the right to cover their own asses legally. They knew! They fucking knew! Support vessels, upon which I may board, are industrial vessels not specifically designed for passenger operations and present many hazards, including, without limitation, large/heavy objects, heavy swinging doors, and low overhangs. These could become even more hazardous in heavy seas. In addition, during the operation, I may board small vessels and other equipment that could expose me to property damage, injury, disability, or death. Number 5, if I choose to assist in the servicing or operation of the submersible vessel, which they kind of have to be mission specialists and not paying passengers, right? I will be exposed to risks associated with high-pressure gases, pure oxygen servicing, high-voltage electrical systems, and other dangers that could lead to property damage, injury, disability, and death. Number 6! The operation will take place largely at a great distance from the nearest hospital or rescue personnel. Right, they didn't even have, like, EMTs with them or anything. Like, for fuck's sake. If I am injured during the operation, I may not receive immediate medical attention. First aid available on the ship may not be equivalent to what is available on land. We have a box of bandages. That's all you get. You couldn't even have one EMT just on the navigational vessel, you know? Like, but again, they're at international waters. They're at international, nobody can do anything about it unless the Coast Guard wants to intervene, but once they're in international waters, there isn't a whole lot anybody can actually do, you know? So anyway, yeah, and this is blah, 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 liability, blah, 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 but that's really the part I wanted to read. Alright, so now we're gonna get into some details on the sub itself. We're gonna watch some more vidges, so I'll let some super chats go through. I see Sabine is here today, so, yeah, and wasn't paying attention.
Not here sent a super chat. If Stockton was somehow resuscitated, he'd probably think he did nothing wrong, and it was the ocean's fault.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. To quote Todd Howard, it just works.
I mean, if you wanted to compare the Titan sub to, say, the coding of a Bethesda game, it's pretty apt. It's pretty apt, yeah.
Helena McNeil sent a super chat. Between this guy and Elon, I can't help but wonder how someone this rich can be this dumb.
Because they were born into wealth. They didn't earn it. They didn't make it. They're not genius entrepreneurs like they think that. They were born into wealth, and their parents gave them money to start things. So, I mean, to Stockton Rush's credit, he did have an aerospace degree, but that doesn't mean much. And also, he was working in submersibles, which is a completely different field.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Old woman yells at ocean.
Well, I could do that for free any day I want. I live by the ocean.
Errand Alpha Eagle sent a super chat. I'd still be mean to that guy for being responsible for multiple people being killed at once, including a minor.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be mean to him, but I mean, I'm not gonna be mean about the entire situation since it was more than just him that died in his stupid little shitbox submarine.
Angels Art and Gaming sent a super chat. Big Bird was supposed to be on the Challenger as well. We could have lived in a world Big Bird and Mr. Beast died in avoidable disaster.
See, I'm not old enough to totally remember the Challenger explosion, but they did show it to us in school. I think because I was in elementary school like a few years after it happened.
Dana_Brain sent a super chat. That contract sounds like something you would read in an FNAF game as a joke.
I know, right? It is like a fictional, like, just wildly unethical company, isn't it? Like, it's something out of Mouthwashing or FNAF or Alien. It's crazy.
Bylonic sent a super chat. And to think this is his legacy now. This is how he will be forever remembered.
Like I said, he wanted to be remembered, and somewhere in the world a monkey's paw crooked.
Sabine Brown sent a super chat.
Oh, look at that, Sabine. I'm skipping yours.
A super chat. Why not just install a screen door at this point?
I mean, he would have put a screen door on a submarine if he thought it would work. He would have.
Miss Jasmine sent a super chat. Beta, Sabine is here.
It said it like Beta.
Peter, Sabine is here.
Alright. Let's see how much money Sabine gives me today before they have to get, banned again for, you want to talk about childishness, the last fucking things you were saying in my chat. Anyway, so here is, so on archive.org, some goat has archived all of OceanGate's old social media videos, which is fan-fucking-tastic. I looked, but there's not a whole lot that's interesting for the stream in here, but if you want to find it yourself, there is an account called OceanGate on the Internet Archive that has archived all of their videos, which is pretty awesome. Like, good. Like, this is what this is for, you know? So here is them bonding the titanium ring and the carbon fiber hole. And I fucking told you guys, they used industrial glue. So, yeah, let's check this out.
Today is a critical joining of the titanium and the carbon fiber.
That's Stockton talking.
Needs to be uniform and small, but not too small.
Turn that up a little bit.
The surface out. And we will check measurements. Between the two components, really what's holding them together and allowing them to move together is the glue. And so you want nice, even movement. It's the glue holding the family together.
That thing behind him is the carbon fiber hole. That's what everyone was sitting in. They had some other, like, you know, casing over it, but it was just a tube. It was just a Pringles can, like people say.
And we want to make sure it's right.
Now, Dan, we're only laughing at the one billionaire who was behind this whole thing. I don't appreciate laughing at other people's loss of life. But if it was, I was just saying, if it was only Stockton Rush that got himself killed, I'd be way meaner.
It's pretty simple, but if we mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery.
Here they are, just like, this dude is just wiping it down with a rag with no gloves on to glue it to the hole to be fucking airtight against the fucking ocean. I hope I don't have to tell you how insane that is. You know how many, like, particles and oils from just his fucking skin could fuck this up? You know?
Simple, but if we mess it up, there's not a lot of recovery.
Well, they did recover it in the end. There just was no bodies to recover, that's all.
The glue's very thick, so it's not like Elmer's glue. It's like peanut butter.
Oh, see, it's thick like peanut butter, so it's totally safe, guys. And again, this is to put this thing 2 miles under the ocean. At least these guys are wearing gloves. Probably just to keep that shit off their hands.
This is the point of no return, right?
This guy gets interviewed a lot in the Netflix documentary. He stuck with the company for an absurdly long time. He seems like kind of a pushover, though. I mean, I don't really blame him that much, but he has a lot of interesting things to say in the Netflix documentary.
I'm good already, north-south, and east-to-west.
Just sheer human neglect, you know?
Oh yeah, so that will be the pressure vessel for Cyclops 2. It'll go to 4,000 meters. Be the deepest.
This wasn't even the Titan. This is Cyclops 2. They had 2 other shitboxes before the Titan. The Titan was somehow worse than the first 2.
Sub ever built. When it goes to 4,000 meters, it'll be the only one out there. I'm going to be the first guy in the sub, so we will see.
Yeah, isn't that eerie in hindsight?
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. Beta, the submersible disappeared. Oh my god, Lois, the ship was built like a shopping cart.
A little more sturdy than a shopping
Neo
cart,
Kaiser
maybe,
sent a
but...
super chat. Hey Sai, what would you do if you were bolted shut inside that sub with Lily, Shad, Loomis, Bonk and Pink?
Is killing myself an option?
Awesomeness. Sent a super chat. My man was huffing the glue he used for the sub.
I think so. I think so. So yeah, if I was stuck in the sub with who did you say? I already forgot. It was Lily, Shad, Limus, Bonk, and Pink. Well, that's too many people for the sub. It has to be 5. But I would drown myself in the toilet. That's my answer.
Gargarock Bob sent a super chat. They should use FlexSafe/S.
It unironically might have worked better.
Cardian Joker sent a super chat. Pretty sure even Mythbusters would look at this and say, yeah, duct tape would not work here at all.
Oh man, Mythbusters should do a thing on the Titan sub. It'd be fun. I mean, we already know it fucking failed, but you know, it could be interesting. Anyway, so we're gonna I'm gonna pause my music for this too. Shut up. I'm going to show a few videos of Stockton Rush showing us around inside the sub itself, so we get a real good look at just how insane this all was.
Stockton Rush, I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
So again, as you can see, there was no way out. They just bolted. They just put 4 bolts into these holes and just sealed them inside. Yeah.
So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward,
Yes. What you may have heard is true. It was all controlled by an off-brand Logitech controller. Because he wanted to make it accessible for anybody to pilot it. Now, for like a neat little thing you're just gonna go like, you know, a couple meters under the water with, maybe. Sure. But not 2 miles into the fucking ocean, bro. And again, we can see here that the monitors are bolted into the side of the fucking carbon fiber hull. Both of them, on either side. And he wonders why it cracked. So yeah. I mean, that's kind of an interesting idea, but for 2 miles under the ocean, no. If you were just taking people to coral reefs or whatever, yeah, sure. Fine. But no.
you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left.
And there was like no place to sit inside of it. The people just sat on the floor, you know, and he just crammed 5 people in there, when most real submersibles can only hold up to like 3.
Turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's...
It was Bluetooth! I, don't think I was aware of that part. It was Bluetooth. Can you imagine it losing its Bluetooth connection when you're like a mile under the ocean? You didn't even have, then he just tosses it. You didn't even have a way to plug it in an emergency, bro? We're gonna learn more about him tossing that controller later on, too.
And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the 2nd year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in...
Oh, here it is in the parking lot at St. John's, like that guy took pictures of, where they just left it there all winter in the snow and cold.
5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists, who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists.
Legally, I have to call them mission specialists, because if I called them paying passengers, the U.S. government could arrest me.
Out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it. We want to document what the wreck.
Well, yeah, Killjoy, I know drones use similar controls, and this was his excuse. He's like, well, even the U.S. Navy and military uses game controllers, and it's like, yeah, dude, for drones and periscopes, not to control an entire submarine or a tank or something, you idiot.
Wreck is like now, and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay, and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues to collapse forward. We saw some of the railing.
Yeah, man, that's how entropy works. Eventually, the whole thing is just gotta be nothing but debris and rocks and dust. So, you know, that's life, and now you're just dust down there with it. Congratulations.
It's starting to lose its structural strength, which is really a sad thing. That's when it's going to stop looking like the Titanic. The interest in the Titanic is the reason we go there, because people are willing to fund this kind of exploration and science, and that gives a completely different research component that almost nowhere else in the deep ocean can you get funding to go back every year for decades and see how coral reefs develop and see how metals decay and see how currents change. I mean, that just, you can't justify that. No government will pay for that. Nobody wants to go back to just some old reef, but people do want to go back to the Titanic, and that's why we go, is because people want to go.
Yeah, and you could have done that by, like, you know, actually paying somebody who knows how to build fucking submarines well to do that for you, instead of this carbon fiber death trap you made, bro.
Gay Gem sent a super chat. Too cheap to use a real Xbox controller.
He's like, I got this Mad Catz controller to control my fucking submarine.
Lisa Harder sent a super chat. I think my audio is acting out because all I heard was, hello, I'm the Grim Reaper. Come inside my death trap.
I mean, that might as well be what he was fucking saying. You can see how crammed it was in there.
Cardian Joker sent a super chat. Big Auya vibes all around from this.
Well, we're getting supers, I'm gonna look up an image of James Cameron in a submersible.
Laneying sent a super chat. Funny how rich guys are also the cheapest sobs.
Yeah, like he had no regard for anyone's safety. Here's James Cameron in one of his submersibles.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. If I were locked in the sub with Lily, Shad, etc., I'd blow the sub and take them all with me.
Oh, there you go. All you'd have to do is puncture a hole in the side.
Weak Freak Animation sent a super chat. It only gets worse and worse and worse.
It does. Here's James Cameron in a real, like, one-person submersible. It's pretty fucking cool
Alpha
looking.
Eagle sent a super chat. I call this the Stockton Syndrome.
I mean, again, it's just his ego, sunk cost fallacy, just his inability, Dunning-Kruger effect as well, his inability to believe in his own incompetence. But yeah, this is a cool-ass one-person submersible that James Cameron has gone down into the Titanic with. So he knows what the fuck he's doing. You see all the equipment on this damn thing? You see how it's not just like a tube with a fucking Xbox game controller? This is what real man submersibles look like. Now, that's not a very high resolution image there, unfortunately, but yeah, there is I'm not going to play it on stream, but if you want to seek it out, there is a good interview with James Cameron about this whole thing and about how he knew from the beginning that they probably fucking imploded. There he is in, like, the guts of one of these things that are pretty complicated fucking machines, as you can see.
Cryohazard sent a super chat. I forgot to say this, but your thumbnail for the video looks really good.
Thank you. I'm actually pretty proud of it. It came out really good, and my friend Celeste helped me by drawing the submarine, and she helped me with the layout. So, because she was like, "Hey, do you need any thumbnail work?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm doing the Titan sub, and I am bad at drawing machines, and you're good at drawing machines." So, actually, let's look up her Twitter real quick, so you guys can all go subscribe to Celeste. Oh, there it is. She's on Twitter under Supercell Alpaca. Her usual name is Celestial Alpacaron. And as you can see, she does a lot of different stuff. So go check out Celeste. She drew the Titan sub for me for this week's stream. She's a very she's quite a variety artist. So anyway.
Saucy Louise sent a super chat. Is this the infamous pool hopping?
If only he had tested it more at a pool, maybe he would have learned that this
John
fucking
Williams
thing.
sent a super chat. If I was in that submarine, Shad stays alive last so I can use him as a backup food.
There you go. Smart. You're gonna start a little campfire down there. That definitely won't make it implode. Anyway. I see a few of you know Celeste. We're pretty good friends. We met when we both started our Spidel AUs, and we've been friends ever since. We've actually met in real life. So this is an old CBC News interview with Stockton. This might have been the Discovery one that they kind of buried. I can't remember. I'm just checking my notifications. Just without thinking, Andre uploaded, hooray! Anyway, so let's check this out. I think I was going to just, I had it at a timestamp, didn't I? What am I doing, you dummy? You put it at a timestamp for a reason.
This is hours and hours of interviews.
We're going to stop and pause and play part of that. As you say, the very issues, the elements that have come under scrutiny and will in these investigations, you talk about MacGyvering, which is the part that really caught our attention. So let's play a little segment, David, and then I'll come back and continue with our questions.
It seems like a lot of the way you made this is by taking off-the-shelf parts and sort of MacGyvering them together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does that not raise anybody's eyebrows in the industry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely an outlier. There were a lot of rules out there that didn't make engineering sense to me.
There's certain things that you want to be buttoned down, and that's the pressure vessel. Once the pressure vessel is, you're certain it's not going to collapse on everybody, everything else can fail.
Isn't that a fucking ironic statement in hindsight? As long as the pressure valve, if you're sure the pressure thing isn't going to fucking fail, everything else can. It's fine. So yeah, he was absolutely fucking convinced that he would make carbon fiber work. Just somehow. And this was in 2022, right before the fatal fucking implosion.
There are so many incredible...
I think that was the only part I wanted to show of this, but this is a whole, that's a whole CBC News video on an old interview that they did as they're talking about it, I think a year after it happened. And I have another one here. I think. Let the supers come through while I find that. Hello, supers. Hello, supers. Hello.
Jahudi sent a super chat. Speaking of the hubris of man, is there a chance that you does dream explaining the abominations that are exotic bully breeds?
I don't know. I mean, I don't consider myself an expert on that or knowledgeable enough. I mean, I'll only talk about things on stream that actually interest me, because that's fun for both me and you. If I'm talking about something I'm not interested in, we'll all be bored. Anyway, so this was a BBC interview, I think, and this is from 2 years ago. So, this might have been right before it happened. Oh no, this is a clip from the BBC documentary. Okay, this is why I saved this. I got it. I'm trying to remember why I saved a bunch of these things now.
Science team, are you a go or no go? Science is a go.
So again, here we can see how they bolted them into the sub just by putting the front on and just closing it again to go 2 miles under the fucking ocean. Oh yeah, I'll check that out in a second. He'll try to set me the exact controller he was holding.
Ready to go or no go for launch? Ready to just go for launch.
There will be a time when people will go to space at much less cost and very regularly. I think the same thing's going to happen going underwater. It's going to get less expensive and much more accessible.
You can see how it is with him. He was always like, I'm an innovator, I'm a maverick, I'm breaking the rules, and everyone's underestimating me. I'm the underdog here, but I'm the secret genius, and I'm gonna make this work, and I'm doing it for the common man, which I think was just cope he told himself.
The track and just go for launch.
Yeah, they're called mission specialists because if you call them passengers, it's very, very, very illegal to do this.
This is the point of no return. If there was any point to freak out, now would be the point to freak out.
This is an experimental sub. People are informed that it's very dangerous down there.
Am I spinning?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And Scott is like, oh no, we have a problem.
I was thinking, we're not going to make it. We can't go anywhere but go in circles. I just need to get there.
That was not as interesting as I thought it was. But let's check out the controller Killjoy just sent me. So this is the actual Logitech fucking controller he was using, and I'm sure there's a bunch of joke reviews on it, isn't there? I bet there is. Oh, this one's kind of cool looking. Let's see. Yeah. You cut the cord, Bluetooth, yada 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 yada. Return policy of 30 days. Oh, that was kind of cool looking too. Anyway, let's look at the customer reviews because I'm sure there's a bunch of joke ones on it. Come on. Show me. Damn it. Any that say submarine. Here we go. I don't know what was wrong with the Titan subs controller. Mine controls my sub perfectly. I hooked it up to my standard OceanGate's sub and took it down to the Titanic, and our vessel imploded because my controller lost connection. Any way I can get a replacement. This controller is so beautiful, it took my breath away, and it's great for gaming, but not doing anything else, like controlling a sub, for example. Yeah, so there's a few joke reviews.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Davy Jones be like, oh look, they got their own locker.
They came down here in a locker, just for me. Alright, I'm taking that.
Adrian Parchman sent a super chat. Work lunch tax meat and noodles. Corn, cabbage, cornbread, butter and jelly, with pink lemonade.
Nice.
Chipmanly93 sent a super chat. Here, the ocean is teeming with death.
Here, the ocean is teeming with death. It's the best I can do.
Helpless Puppet sent a super chat. Must have been scary for the 4 people to hear it fail.
Yeah, because they got a text message right before the implosion that the sub was dropping its weights, I do think they maybe knew something was wrong. It was probably making a lot of noise. So just thinking about that, I mean, even if the implosion itself happened too quickly for them to even know, the lead up to it might have been like several minutes of popping and cracking and snapping, which is just fucking horrifying to think about. And again, they were like 2 miles under the ocean. There is no getting out of that if the thing fails.
Cinder the Deer sent a super chat. Forgotten even to the sea, for any stuff for part of Stockton, even any scantling of your soul is Stockton no more, but is now itself the sea.
Is that a sea shanty? Probably. Let's see, Killjoy says, I want to point out that they didn't use a torque wrench, they used a ratcheting wrench, which means the bolts weren't flush with the sub seal. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. I can't even imagine how it's sealed, Because again, we had that picture we looked at earlier, or in 2021, as they were lowering it into the water, the bolts just shot right off, and the cap just fell off. And yet they still were determined to go under the water with this thing. You know? Oh, God. Reference to the lighthouse. I am uncultured. I apologize. Anyway. Oh, yeah. And then finally, before we're going to switch to Distractovision, I'm actually going to draw. This is a video. I'm only going to play the part. I'm only going to play the part where that's from the documentary itself, but I'll tell you who the uploader is. The uploader is GMH Films, but this bit of footage I saved is from the Netflix documentary itself. And this is the part that horrified me the most. This is Stockton Rush doing a solo dive in the Bahamas, trying to test the sub to 4,000 feet. He doesn't make it to a total of 4,000 feet, and we're gonna find out why.
And that fucking crack location. I'll get your attention.
He says close enough because he was at, like, 3,900 feet. But imagine, this must have been the kind of sounds they were hearing before the implosion happened. And it was making those sounds all the time. Yeah, I know the music, blah, blah, blah. But I want you to hear the popping noises. That is the sound of the carbon fiber delaminating from the inside as its layers come apart. And it's only a matter of time until the entire structure fails.
And that fucking crack location. I'll get your attention.
And he just kept banging his head against reality, insisting that he was just gonna make this work somehow. He could not accept that this was a terrible idea all along. He just couldn't accept it. He just couldn't accept it. I don't know why
Master
it went all blank
Clockwork
on
sent
me.
a super chat. Even in Subnautica, listening to your sub creak is nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna play Subnautica one of these days. Since I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky on stream, people are like, Sai, you would like Subnautica, and I might just go play it blind one day.
Not Here sent a super chat. I get Homelander vibes from Stockton, but they're somehow even more insecure.
Yeah, the guy I pointed out in the video with the glue, I think he's the one in his interviews in the Netflix documentary where he said he thought that Stockton was a bit of a psychopath or sociopath, yeah.
Jezeel sent a super chat. The existential horror they all must have felt and thought. Not even enough time to take their emotions out on Stockton for some form of justice. It's awful.
I mean, we can't know for sure exactly what happened, but I mean, like I said, they dropped their weights shortly before the implosion actually happened, so they must have been hearing something. So, but it was probably even louder than that, just groaning and creaking and popping and snapping until the whole thing just went. But again, mercifully, the implosion would have happened faster than their brains could even process it, and they were just liquefied. They were just vaporized by the immense amount of energy that would have been expelled because of it.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Why not use baling wire and duct tape to build it at this point?
I mean, this is basically what they fucking did. You know, again, it's a miracle it made it down to the Titanic 13 times.
Bomberman3001 sent a super chat. Dongay the new Mando catalogues looking different.
You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, God damn, there is going to be a movie based on this one of these days, isn't there? There will be. There absolutely will be.
Steph the Scientist sent a super chat. Did we bring Rice Krispies on this trip?
The Rice Krispies are the layers of carbon fiber coming apart. Oh, God. Anyway, so I'm going to switch to Distractovision now for our next item. I'm going to play you a video from someone a lot smarter than me. So, and I want to shout out his channel as well, and you guys should go subscribe. I put him in the description as well. What the fuck? Where is my Distractovision? Oh, it's all falling apart.
It's Mohammed sent a super chat. Titan sub?
Yep, Titan sub. Titan sub. That's what we're talking about today. Because I was hyper-fixated on this entire fucking situation and can spurg about it. Anyway, so this is a guy called...
This is Gordon from Solar Eclipse.
Shush, 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 Gordon. We'll get to you. Shush. Quiet. This is a guy called Solar Eclipse Timer. That's his name because he literally just sells a solar eclipse timer. But he's made a lot of videos on the Titan sub. And I've watched him a lot since this whole thing started. And he has really good information, and I believe this is the video where he has a really, really, really good demonstration of how delamination happens. And he just basically goes over the flaws in the sub design itself. So it's about a 20-minute video, so I'm going to draw while we listen to this. I probably won't even interrupt it very much, because it's just a very interesting video. But please go subscribe to him and check out his videos. He has many, many videos on the whole OceanGate thing if you're more interested in it from a scientific perspective. Oh yeah, I love this guy's videos. He's been like one of my goats for like learning the more technical stuff behind this, because again, I'm not a fucking science. I have general science knowledge, but I'm not an expert at any rate.
It's Mohammed sent a super chat. Solar eclipse timer?
Yeah, he sells a solar eclipse timer, so you know when solar eclipses are happening. Here's his website actually. Let's promote this guy a little bit. So he solar eclipse timer geolocates, calculates contact times, and then talks you through the eclipse. So basically, it's I think it's an app. It's an app, yeah. So it's an app to calculate solar eclipses if you're interested in that kind of thing. So give this guy some support if you're interested in, you know, stargazing, eclipses, stuff like that. So I couldn't even tell you half the technical stuff behind this, but it looks very impressive. Oh, you got a little... I don't sell Eclipse t-shirts, coffee mugs, maps, or Eclipse glasses, but I do highly recommend Eclipse glasses from American Paper. If these were his, I was going to promote them even harder. But so anyway, I did link this guy in the description if you want to subscribe to him. But his videos on the Titan sub are very, very good. So he has a lot of them. So we're gonna put it over to him to explain just what was wrong with this shitbox to us. Well, I'm gonna draw Ruby looking all sad here. I'm still working on this next part of Switcheroo. These are my thumbnails, so I don't have the pages entirely figured out yet. But we'll just draw the insides of the panels as we go, because whatever. I do what I want. So we're gonna listen to Gordon.
In this video, I will report on what is basically an untold story about the Titan hull. When OceanGate decided to co-bond or glue 5 separate 1-inch carbon fiber layers together to achieve a 5-inch thick hull, this forced a radical, untested, and probably ill-advised idea of smoothing surface high spots of the carbon fiber layers by grinding them down.
Just by
Yeah, they basically, after they glued all the carbon fiber together, they basically just sanded it and then sprayed it with Rhino truck bed liner to go 2 miles into the fucking ocean. Again, by now you should know how insane that is.
By sanding down the carbon fiber, obviously a power sander. It would go over the whole thing.
This is from the hearings that happened recently. There's been a series of hearings on the whole fucking disaster. It's not a trial. It's not a criminal trial or anything, but it's just a bunch of hearings on it.
Sand it down.
I have not come across any serious discussions about the potential impacts to hull strength when every hull layer has dozens or possibly hundreds of carbon fiber and matrix discontinuities. The Coast Guard Titan hearings are amazingly revealing if you weave together the details from multiple witnesses, as I have done. You will hear
weave together. I see what you did there.
Testimony from multiple engineers.
The way that the wrinkle likely formed for OceanGate was what would be called a debulk.
And I started at OceanGate in 2019 and worked there until 2023.
I'm saying the first principles of engineering do apply here.
If you exceed your out-of-roundness limits, it can cause premature buckling failure of the hull.
You'll start to see wrinkling or other non-desirable features.
We did not have any.
Yeah, and this is like precisely why people don't use carbon fiber in submersibles, because there's gaps in the material. Something like titanium, it's one whole solid thing where only the atoms are separated from each other. And that's why it's so much safer to, you know, tank all the fucking pressure from the ocean.
Any allowables or supporting data for anything that didn't have 45-degree plies in the laminate configuration.
When we talk about weakening a carbon fiber laminate, it's helpful to make a quick comparison to something that everyone is familiar with.
Now, pay attention. This is a very good demonstration of what delamination is. In fact, let me put this full screen down here.
Wood. Watch this.
I said 10-9.
You see that? They put more and more pressure on the wood until it just suddenly and catastrophically explodes and just breaks. That is what happened to the carbon fiber. But because it was under the ocean, that just made all the pressure come rushing inward. You know, like I said, outer space will explode you with pressure from inside you out, and pressure under the ocean will rush in and crush you. That's the difference.
I said 10-9.
That's basically what happened to the material the hull was made out of. It's sudden. It takes pressure as it, you know, slowly, as it layers comes apart on the inside until, boom, the whole thing just fails.
And you may ask, what behavior is the same about carbon fiber composite and wood? They are both called anisotropic materials, which means that they take stress differently in 3 directions. The crucial thing is that anisotropic material deforms under pressure to a point and then rapidly breaks. It fractures, splits, or delaminates. It is sometimes difficult to model the failure point because of the variability in material, structure, and defects, but when it fails, it's catastrophic.
If you look at the stress strain curve of carbon fiber composites, the relationship between stress and strain is nearly linear up to the point of failure. There is no yielding of the material. So the material goes all the way to its failure point, and then it catastrophically fails with little or no warning.
Yep, just like that.
When loops of carbon fiber are damaged in a hull, either during fabrication, by accident, excessive pressure, or from deliberate grinding like OceanGate did, you have to consider the distribution of the loads. When Boeing consulted on the V1 hull, this is why they recommended 45-degree plies.
Increased potential for damage or damage propagation based on the 0-90 configuration without a cross ply, or that the load redistribution, if you had damage, wouldn't be performed as well, or the laminate might not be as robust as it would be if it had 45-degree plies in there.
Yeah, in just what's called a 0-90 axial and rotational layup, which is not normally done, but in the ocean, that's all you see. You don't get any torsional moments.
Stockton and Spencer apparently did not agree with Boeing based on the idea that forces underwater will not create torsional moments. That may be true about the torsional moments, but it misses the point of Boeing's recommendation. Boeing felt that if you had defects in the layup or hoop fibers beginning to fail under strain, the 45-degree ply is another path for the loads to be distributed. Defects are likely.
I mean, so basically, like, every single time Stockton Rush consulted an expert, and they told him this isn't going to work, he just went, nah, I'll make it work. I'll make it work because I'm an innovator. I'm a maverick. I'm a genius. I can just keep defying reality and nothing bad will happen to me. You know? And look where it got him, crunched in a can at the bottom of the ocean.
Likely with carbon fiber layups, and the defects will weaken the structure. You have to pre-plan to have a structure that deals with that. Listen again to Mark Nagley.
Or that the load redistribution, if you had damage, wouldn't be performed as well.
Boeing had no idea that years later, OceanGate would knowingly create hundreds and hundreds of defects by grinding. Let's hear from another engineer about cross plies.
Now, a typical thick shell pressure hull is exposed to hoop stresses, radial stresses, as well as longitudinal stresses. So to withstand radial or longitudinal stresses, you typically employ X cross winding. That means you wind it in an X pattern. And that is more effective in handling hoop as well as radial as well as longitudinal stresses.
If you are enjoying this content so far, please leave a comment and share it, which helps the
Comment and share, guys. He's it's cutting off the video a little bit. I'll put it not full screen. But yeah, like they're saying, like these materials will take stress in 3 different directions, which is why they will just, you know, tank the pressure until the point it can't do it anymore, and then just boom, it fails.
Algorithms suggest it, and consider subscribing. When OceanGate needed to do the V2 hull, they did not trust Spencer Composites to do it. So between NASA's limited consultation work and Electro Impact's aerospace laminate building experience, the decision was made to do heated pressurized autoclaving to take out air pockets. But since this will not work well on a 5-inch thick laminate, Electro Impact said it had to be done in 1-inch thick layers so the autoclaving would have an effective debulking effect.
When it came time to do the full-scale hull, that EI said that they would not build it. They would not build it without doing a multi-cure. That we had to do it that way.
Oh yeah, they had made several hulls at different sizes to scale, and they failed every time. But they just kept going anyway. It's absolutely madness.
Or take it someplace else.
But the layering technique actually added a crucial variable that may be worse than ply direction. Surface irregularities caused by autoclaving creates 2 problems. The humps grow with each layer, and it ruins the flat surface for laying down glue. This meant that there had to be surface preparation, which led to grinding down high spots. I think you will like the graphics I made to explain this process. There was a statement in Dr. Kramer's testimony that may have gone unnoticed. In the midst of talking about the co-bonding process, he casually makes a statement about bulges in the hull being removed by grinding. This short statement does not emphasize what a big deal this was.
After peel ply removal, bulges in the hull were removed by grinding. A layer of film adhesive was applied, followed by another inch of pre-preg. For any sanding event that went 3 layers down or more, it would have sanded into both circumferential layers and longitudinal layers.
Let's look at
So basically they were creating all of these pockets where it would start to fail and come apart from itself by, you know, saying, oh, we have a lump. We have a lump in there. Let's just sand it down. It'll be fine.
A 3-dimensional model to understand the possible effects of grinding humps on the surface of layers to prepare for glue prior to the next layer. The layers get built up on a mandrel and autoclaved. A layer of glue is put down before another layer is added, and this is repeated until you have 5 layers, getting to a thickness of just over 5 inches.
And we saw how they were applying the glue on the titanium ring. They were just doing it with rags, so you couldn't even know if they had like an even layer of glue on there.
Look at this image of the version 2 hull just after being removed from the mandrel. Do you see all those ripples in the surface? Those are high spots in the carbon fiber layup of the 5th layer and the final layer, so they did not need to be dealt with. But the first 4 layers had to be dealt with. The issue is this: if you have humps on the surface of one of the early layers, that could impede getting an even layer of glue applied. And even worse, with each subsequent layer, that
I got ahead of Gordon. I just said that.
hump will get higher. So the humps were dealt with by grinding them down to make the surface flat for the glue layer to be applied.
When we built the 3rd scale hulls, one of the biggest problems that we had was that if there was an imperfection, that imperfection would amplify towards the outer windings. On the first 3rd scale hull, this wrinkle was quite large. When we tested it and it failed right on this imperfection. So when we started doing the multi-cure, what was done was they would do the first layer and then cure it, and then we had a group of people with sanders. They would sand down any imperfections, any sort of blisters or anything like that, and smooth it out as best they could.
And like, if you're building like a fucking tree house, that's fine. But for a fucking submersible that's going 2 miles under the ocean, that's terrible. You don't want any point where the material could fail due to pressure at all.
Good. Dan Scoville had come up with this method to do this, and it was done
sad about
at every
this.
multi-cure layer.
When the NTSB looked at one of the cutoff ends, layer 1 had 1 grind spot, layer 2 had about 8 grind spots, layer 3 about
Look how uneven it is, too. Jesus Christ.
14, and layer 4 had 24 grind spots. Listen to Don Kramer's testimony about examining a cutoff end for grind spots.
The Titan hull exhibited waviness and wrinkles within the hull layers, especially the 2nd through the 5th layers. We examined the trimmed end in closer detail and found instances where wrinkles had been ground flush with the outer surface prior to the building of the next layer. A thorough examination of one of the trimmed ends indicated that the number of ground wrinkles increased with each successive layer, peaking at 24 for the 4th layer. It should be noted that the number of plies removed by grinding varied significantly. In a survey on a block of material brought back to the lab, the number of plies removed by grinding varied from 1 to 12.
And like Killjoy just said in the chat, it's like carbon fiber tech was designed for lightweight negative pressure, not positive pressure. Yeah, it's like it's basic fucking physics or something.
Kramer said that they saw between 1 to 12 plies of carbon fiber get removed. Let's put that into perspective. I've taken one of their images and recreated the hump. Since a 1-inch layer has 133 plies, on the bigger grinds, if 12 plies were ground off, 9% of the plies were removed in the grind spot. If you look at it in terms of thickness, I took the NTSB scale and put it vertically next to the simulated hump. This grind would remove approximately 3/32 of an inch of carbon fiber and matrix to make it end up being smooth like this. Mr. Jackson from NASA was asked if grinding down humps in carbon fiber was common practice. Let's listen to his answer.
Would it be common practice to sand or grind those off?
No, that is not common practice. So you're removing material, you're making a discontinuity. So typically, if you were to remove material in that fashion, you would come back and repair that with what's referred to as a scarf joint, where you sand your affected area away, you place plies back in to pick up that load path.
Dr. Kramer was asked if grinds...
So basically, he just said nobody in their right mind fucking does this. This is not standard procedure. These are these guys like, we're innovators, we're MacGyvers, we're mavericks. We can just do whatever the fuck we want and we won't die.
Affected strength. He can't answer the question because the technique has never been used on a 5-layer co-bonded 5...
He can't answer the question because it's completely incoherent because nobody in their right fucking mind would do it.
inch thick laminate.
Well, I think that would require some analysis in order to quantify that.
That's the nice scientific polite version of what I just said.
I think it requires detailed analysis in order to determine the severity of it.
But in the aerospace industry, load distribution after damage to a carbon fiber laminate is a known fact.
Any kind of a scratch, a nick, or a gouge, or a hole is going to cause a stress concentration.
So as Mr. Brooks said, Dan Scoville, one of the OceanGate engineers, came up with this grinding as the solution to preventing enlarging humps, and they did it. I have a question at this point. Mr. Scoville and Mr. Brooks have degrees in electrical engineering or computer science.
And arts and sciences. So yeah, electrical engineers, people from aerospace, equestrians, are the people trying to figure out how to build a fucking submarine. This was always insane, and but they managed to get away with it because Stockton Rush was rich and connected, and did everything he could to circumvent U.S. regulation and law, and and just muscled out anybody who challenged him or told him he's gonna get somebody killed. He wouldn't listen to experts. He wouldn't listen to his peers in the field. He wouldn't listen to anybody. We are watching stuff on the OceanGate Titan sub, Jay Plays Games, and this is a video from a guy called Solar Eclipse Timer who has done a lot of really, really good sciencey videos on the Titan sub, and we're listening to this because he can explain it better than me.
So who is the materials engineer of record signing off on the safety of this grinding procedure since OceanGate never tested the effects and did not plan to test it? Mr. Brooks gives us some insight into that with a bit of his testimony.
In the fall of 2021, then after the engineering director left, then I was promoted to engineering director. At the time, I was concerned because
Yeah, he would do this a lot too. Somebody would leave because they knew this was like a shit show, and he would just like put some random person in their place. Like, there was one woman who was she was really into scuba diving, but she wasn't like a submersible pilot, and she got a job there as like an accountant, so she could like, you know, do her scuba stuff and you know, work for a place like that and be supported. And she said like after, I think it was after Lockridge left, who we'll get to a little later. Lockridge was the director of marine operations, who really butted heads with Stockton a lot for very good reasons. They just said, "Oh, you can be the new pilot. We'll have a female pilot. It'll be good for marketing." And she was like, "What the fuck? I don't know how to do that." And then she left too.
because I did not have a background in mechanical engineering or in materials. And the agreement was that other people at the company, mainly Stockton Rush and Bob Schumann, would handle those tasks, the mechanical engineering tasks and materials.
And again, Stockton Rush's background was in aerospace, not deep sea exploration.
So how many grind spots did they put in the hull? We don't know for sure, but we can make a conservative estimate from what we know they found in the cutoff end. The NTSB found 47 grind spots in one of the cutoff ends. Now, I want to mention that the cutoff ends might not fully represent the 8-foot length of the usable hull, but judging by the amount of humps seen on layer 5 of the finished hull and the way Mr. Brooks described the group that did the grinding, I think my estimate is conservative because...
Yeah, what he's saying basically is they had some leftover material that they cut off of their shitty little hull, and people are basically examining it like rings on a tree to figure out what the fuck happened here.
As I will explain in a minute, layer 4 had the most amount of grind spots of any of the layers. But what happens if we take what the NTSB found and estimate that for the entire 8-foot hull? We can make the math simple and even underestimate a bit if we say that the cutoff ends were a foot wide and have the 47 grinds that the NTSB found. Doing the math, this means that the 8-foot hull may have had 376 grind spots. But the problem becomes more worrisome if you look at it in 3 dimensions. Let's do that. Let's say this black oval represents a grind spot on layer 1. You might say no big deal. But this grind spot, if cutting through 2 or 3 plies, is disrupting many loops of carbon fiber circling the hull. The loops are no longer an intact loop around the hull, and their ability to take strain is reduced.
When he says loop, I mean carbon fiber is literally, it's like a big tight spool is how it's constructed, basically. It's how they weave it. It's just a big old spool of material.
If stress and strain causes deflection in this area, the forces are transferred to the neighboring loops. The intact neighboring circumferential loops are now asked to take more load. Some of the load can be distributed to the longitudinal plies that are every 3rd ply. And here is why Boeing recommended 45-degree plies. This was important. It would have been another direction to distribute load, but this was ignored and not done in the V2 hull. The hull had the 0-90 layup. Now let's amplify the problem. Here's a section of the first layer showing multiple grind spots. The second layer gets glued over it. But now the second layer has its grind spots, and the NTSB found more than in the first layer.
Like Swiss
the
cheese.
Third layer is glued on, and the third layer gets grind spots, which were counted to be even more numerous. The fourth layer gets glued on, and it has grind spots and has the most amount of grind spots of any layer. The fifth layer gets glued on, and since it's the last layer, humps can be left alone. But think about this.
I'm not mute. We're just
Every one
listening
of
to
these
this.
ovals will have that red strain line that I showed initially, only in the first gray layer. Now you have all these random weak spots in the circumferential loops of carbon fibers. This puts more strain on the neighboring fibers and the local matrix. And now you have hundreds of...
So basically what he's saying, you have these grind spots in the part that's spooled, and then there's another, it's a weave, so it's think of like a basket almost. So there's other fibers going horizontally, and then you have the vertical loops. And basically these grind spots on the vertical loops are transferring pressure to the horizontal threads, and that is basically what is causing, like, all the stress, you know, we heard inside the damn thing, as we listened to earlier, the fucking popping noises. That's where those came from.
Crack cocaine.
Yeah, so that's what was happening inside of these layers, this whole time, because they decided to sand it down when they just had an uneven lump in the damn hole. Yeah.
To areas where the loops are weakened and the loads potentially have to be redistributed if there's deflection. This not only can add local weakness, but it can contribute to out-of-roundness in a section of the hull, which increases asymmetric strain even more. Here's another diagram to explain the load distribution around a hump that has been ground down.
I love his diagrams.
This shows one layer between two glue joints. It has 133 plies, and the lighter bands are circumferential plies. The plies highlighted in red on either side of the grind are now not a continuous loop. The plies in matrix highlighted in yellow might now need to carry more load. And this is in one dimension. If looked at from the surface...
Yeah, like, take say, like, a spool of thread, and then just take some sandpaper to the side of it, and see how much integrity that thread has afterward, and you get a pretty good idea of what he's talking about here.
This grind spot is actually a circle or oval of damage.
If you exceed your out-of-roundness limits, it can cause premature buckling failure of the hull. They introduced out-of-roundness on metallic hulls, and then they tested these hulls to failure. And what they noticed is, as you exceed your out-of-roundness limits, the pressure at which the hull collapses is much less than the design pressure.
And sir, was that just primarily for metallic hulls?
Metallics.
Do you think the same principle would apply for a carbon fiber hull?
Absolutely, yes.
I don't know the answer to the following questions, and they were not directly addressed in the testimony. But I mean, seriously, who signed off on this? Bob Schumann, who was the COO, but did have a degree in mechanical engineering? Did Stockton say it was okay?
Of course he did.
Were the grind spots mapped for location across the layers? Is there an issue of grinds from multiple layers being stacked on each other? Is there computer modeling for the effect on strength when considering number of grinds combined with the depth of grinds?
As a lot of people are saying in the chat, yeah, this thing was a ticking time bomb. It was always going to fail. It was just a matter of time. And like I said in my description, it's a fucking miracle Stockton Rush didn't get anyone killed sooner.
I'm not a carbon fiber engineer, and this grind spot issue was not clearly addressed in the hearings, but maybe more information will come out in the final report. But now let's have a little fun with this. Bart Kemper from Kemper Engineering talked about the hull in a way that really simplifies a way to look at the mechanics. It makes the load concepts easy to understand for the non-engineer.
We can look at this as the head is good, the window's good, the ring is good, and it's just the load on the carbon fiber. Well, if you look at it in a plane view, as we are here, it's kind of like a bridge. It's just this straight line across a gap, two hard points. You can assume it's fixed, which puts more shear stress on the ends, and you can treat it as pinned, which maximizes the bending stress in the middle. I'm saying the first principles of engineering do apply here.
What Mr. Kemper is saying is that you can look at longitudinal slices all around the circumference of the hull as a load-bearing member. It's a span.
Well, that's the thing, too. Don't forget, on the front and the end of this carbon fiber hull, they had titanium. And titanium is definitely going to survive the water better than fucking carbon fiber, which it did. We'll see that when we see the remains recovery. But, like, yeah, so if anything is gonna fail, it's gonna be the fucking middle that you have people in. And that was the entire problem. Like I said, I'm not an engineer. I can't even do math in my head. First time I heard the damn thing was made of carbon fiber, I was like, oh, fuck no. Oh, fuck no. Of course it's gonna fail.
Supported by the sides. This helps the non-engineer picture the inward deflection issues. So remember the wood laminate bench test I showed? If we drilled dozens of holes on the top sides of all the layers, the compressive side, do you think it would weaken the beam? Would that be similar to hull grind spots? So here's another one.
Pretty much.
How similar is this situation to this situation? Each slice of the hull is taking compressive loads like a floor joist. Now, every self-respecting carpenter knows the rules for the defects you can put on the top or the load side of a joist. If you exceed the rules, the joist has a decreased rating for strength. There are rules for how and where you can make notches, and you never drill holes within 2 inches of the top of the joist. So here's an extreme example of way too many defects made on the load side of a joist, but no carpenter would ever do this. Did OceanGate do similar damage to the load side of the layers of the hull? These black dots represent the grind spots. Did OceanGate know that this was safe? Was there modeling for this? We know there wasn't any testing.
I knew it wasn't safe. We read the fucking waiver, but yeah, wood is definitely, like, the best analogy to how a composite material like carbon fiber will just suddenly fail after being under too much stress.
Disrupting the compression side has effects on the tension side, and this could in turn affect the glue that bonds the layers together. And this is exactly what the NTSB found with recovered pieces from the ocean floor. As I do exhaustive analysis on the design and fabrication of the V2 hull, it is very troubling that the testing of this hull was limited to just 4 high-pressure tests in the deep ocean test facility prior to doing dives with people in it.
Yeah, they did tests with holes built to scale, smaller. And they failed every time, and yet they still were like, it's fine. We're gonna go on with our plan because Stockton Rush really wanted this to work, and he really wanted to be an Elon Musk level genius. But even Elon Musk is not a genius. That's the problem, dude. That was the wrong role model.
I am at a loss for words. So I will let Carl Stanley, who is on the second deep dive ever in the Bahamas, in the V1 hull after the lightning strike, end the video.
The amount of research...
There was a lightning strike? Got hit by lightning? Oh, wait, I think I do remember that now. I forgot that part. It got hit by lightning once. And was left out in a parking lot over winter. And it was made of carbon fiber, and it was only... The titanium cap was only screwed on with 4 bolts. Jesus Christ.
Research and development that would need to be done, not even to be certified, but to be safe. What I'm seeing now, I honestly believe that the more information comes out, we're going to see that he did a shockingly small amount of testing.
Like I said, I don't even believe in God, but all I can say is I think even God gave up on this guy. He had so many warnings and chances. So anyway, that was a video by Solar Eclipse Timer. Again, highly recommend this channel if you want to see a lot of sciencey videos on the Titan sub. I think he's got a playlist. Yeah, he's got a playlist. Oh, he's got teacher preparation videos as well. Yeah, because his videos before this were mostly about, like, solar eclipse stuff. Duh. But he's got 13 videos on the Titan, which are all very interesting. So I highly recommend you go give this guy a watch if you want to learn more about this topic. So, because he definitely is smarter than me. So, alright. I'm going to take my break real quick, because I got to feed my pets. I'll leave you guys with some music. When I come back, we'll do some supers, and then we're going to hear from, this guy Lockridge, who was the leading force trying to stop Stockton Rush over all of these years. So, I will be right back, you guys. So guys, I looked it up on break, and, yes, it was struck by lightning. It was struck by lightning in 2018, the same year. He got an open letter from, like, every expert in the field that he needs to stop. Like, you wouldn't even take, like, a sign from, like, the fucking cosmos that this was doomed. Oh, my Christ. Oh, God. Okay. So, the next thing I have on the docket is, we'll go back to Distractovision for this. So I can't get away with not drawing today. We're gonna hear from, Lockridge. I keep forgetting his first name. He was the, director of marine operations. He was an actual submersible pilot. Unlike fucking Stockton. Oh yeah, I was gonna have the super chats go through first. Never mind, here we go.
It's Mohammed sent a super chat. A Hindi?
A Hindi? I forget what that was even in reference to now. On my new pausing super chats regime.
Adrian sent a super chat. Looks like they soiled IT SpongeBob SquarePants.
They soiled it! Can't do a SpongeBob voice.
Space_Prince, sun with face emoji, sent a super chat. I'd if I can join the stream. I'm busy as hell today, but just wanna pop in to say hello.
Well, hello.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. I also recommend Real Engineering and Legal Eagles OceanGate videos.
I don't think I've seen Legal Eagles one, actually, but yeah, that could be a good one if you want to look up more about this on your
Asta
own.
sent a super chat. Armenian tax.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I should be paying you taxes. Armenians have been through enough.
Zeta Ridge 7 sent a super chat. Not even galvanized steel could fix it.
Galvanized
face emoji.
Galvanized steel would have been better than fucking carbon
Sent
fiber.
A super chat. Looney Tunes sticking fingers in leaks here, people.
Yeah, like it's absolutely batshit insane the culture they had around this.
K0MetZ sent a super chat. I was playing Digimon. What is OceanGate?
Go back to the beginning of the stream. No, but it was a company that wanted to.
Deer sent a super chat. That sub was cursed by Poseidon and Zeus.
TLDR, OceanGate was a private submersible business founded by this guy, Stockton Rush. He was absolutely convinced he could make a carbon fiber hull work in a submersible. He did get it down to the Titanic 13 times, but then it predictably catastrophically imploded with him and 4 other people in it in 2023. And I have been following the situation since, because I've been just fucking hyperfixated on it for whatever reason. I think I just have a fascination with really preventable disasters is probably it.
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. When Stockton no longer saw the second pair of footprints in the sand, only to find them replaced Jesus's tank trads, he should have taken the hint. Sawesomeness sent a super chat. It was struck by John Travolta's grease lightning.
John Travolta just came by, yeah. If only had gotten John Travolta on the sub, that would have really sold it, guys. Struck by lightning during a test dive in 2018. Said the direct strike to the carbon fiber hull would have taken the submersible out. Affected over 70% of the sub's internal systems, and yet he didn't take this as a fucking sign. Still. Galvanized steel sub. Well, there's your next video, fucking home design. You go ahead and steal that one. I know you watch my streams. So this is a quick clip of Lockridge at the hearings. And like I said, this guy was like the main guy trying to stop Stockton. Stockton basically tried to sue him into oblivion and get his green card taken away. This guy moved out of Scotland to come work for him. And because he told Stockton, this is dangerous, we need to do more testing, you can't put people in this thing, like, Stockton threatened to sue him into oblivion and get his green card taken away and come after his family. Because he was rich and can do whatever he wants. So, it was a joke, Hughes.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Even God hated his sub.
Well, he said God protected him on 13 fucking dives, but just finally gave the fuck up on him, I guess. Again, I don't even believe in God, but, like, the supernatural luck he had of it not imploding sooner was fucking crazy. I just noticed my overlay for viewer attack isn't even working. That's probably why we haven't seen a lot of tomatoes this stream. It's probably for the best. It's probably for the best. It seems to be stuck loading. I think I might as well just turn it off. But anyway, so we're gonna hear from Lockridge.
So everybody knew from the engineering team. I mean, I spoke to every single one of them, all the children that were coming in straight out of university. Some hadn't even been to university yet, that Tony Nissen had employed. Stockton had no experience building submersible. None of them did. None of them were experienced submersible operators. I know the company had been on the go since 2009. There was no experience across the board within that organisation. That initially was the entire appeal for me going across and transforming things and making something good out of what at the time was nothing. It was nothing. It was all smoke and mirrors, all the social media that you see about all these past expeditions. They always had issues with their expeditions.
Yep, so that is, what the fuck is his first name again? David Lockridge. I don't know why I kept forgetting his first name. Lockridge is such a cool last name. So...
Nick Wolf sent a super chat, just like the 13 Stations of the Cross.
Is that a Catholic thing? Probably, right? So, the reason I definitely wanted to bring up David Lockridge's testimony is because you might have all heard a story that sounded like a joke. That deep under the ocean, Stockton Rush got frustrated and threw the game controller that controls the sub at someone's head. That did happen, and it was David Lockridge that he did that to. And it wasn't in the Titan, that was in the Cyclops, but still. He threw the one controller that controls the whole damn thing at this guy's head because he was frustrated that he got them stuck on debris, and Lockridge was like, give me the damn controller so I can get us out of here. You know, the guy who really knows how to actually pilot submersibles.
But there was an incident on the Doria. It was meant to be my dive. I was meant to take 4 paying clients down to the wreck, and the intention of that entire trip with these mission specialists was we had new sonar fitted to the submersible. We were going to be doing 3D modelling of the wreck. The wreck itself, it's dangerous. We knew it was falling to bits. We did our research, and the plan was I was going to be dropping down over several days, keeping distance from the wreck completely, and basically circumnavigating the wreck at 50 metres away and carrying out sonar scans to create this 3D model of the wreck itself, which, in all good intentions, it was so that divers, future divers, can see exactly what's happening with the decay and degradation of the hull of the Doria itself. It is a very famous vessel, but deadly. I mean, I don't know today, but at the time, I think there was like 18 deaths on the Doria with technical divers diving on it. Yeah, unfortunately, the CEO decided that he wanted to take it down. I objected, because I know sometimes he could...
So who just said that this particular shipwreck is so dangerous, 18 fucking people have died scuba diving in it. So, and you're taking an experimental fucking submersible to it. Oh, it didn't just look like a game controller. He actually used an off-brand Logitech controller with Bluetooth to control the entire fucking submarine. Yes. Because he wanted it to be, like, you know, accessible to the common man or something, and he wanted to be an innovator, and he was just a fucking idiot.
Do things to please himself. He told me I was staying out. I objected again. I was sort of reined in at the time. Just remember, I'm the CEO. You're just an employee. I eventually persuaded him.
This is the expert he brought out to be his director of marine operations. I'm the CEO, so you have to do what I say. Dude, this is the dude who actually knows what he's doing that you brought on for his expertise, and you won't even listen to him.
To let me come in on the dive, so we reduced the paying passengers down to 3, and Stockton said he was taking it down. The first attempt that we did when we were on the surface, the MS Lars just got blown away with the currents. We did tell him, he wouldn't listen. The vessel captain was very wary about the currents at the time. I tried to give my input in terms of the weather. It's It's a
When he says the vessel captain, he's talking about the vessel that actually takes the sub out into international waters. So they always needed a vessel to take it out there and to help them navigate, because it didn't have onboard navigation, as I stated earlier.
very exposed area. So we towed the vehicle so that it was in a good position. Stockton took the helm. The controls for Cyclops, it's actually done at the back of the vehicle.
And again, Cyclops was the one that they had before Titan, but it's a very similar vehicle.
And there is camera systems mounted to the, I don't know now, but there was camera systems mounted only to the front, just above the acrylic sphere, the forward viewing dome. And you controlled it on the back with, yes, the PlayStation controller. And
it was a Logitech Xbox controller, Lockridge. Oh my god. Ugh. Expert, my gas. I'm just kidding.
when we went to do the dive platform was submerged down to its working depth. 12 feet, 15 feet. Took it down so that it's away from the adverse weather conditions. He attempted to take it off. He didn't do it very well. He ended up bending the dive skids on the bottom, the landing skids, which are usually flat, which contain the drop weights. We deployed diver to verify, and anyway, we got the thumbs up. He departed from the MS Lars at depth, came up to the surface, which we usually did, established main communications with the vessel, and from there he took it down. I kept saying, please keep your distance. Don't tell me what to do. That was the conversation. He decided to go straight for the wreck.
So imagine being a submersible pilot expert, and you're in this fucking tube underwater with this crazy man who just thinks he can defy reality, and you tell him, be careful, don't go anywhere near the actual wreck, it's dangerous, and he while you two are deep under the fucking ocean, says, don't tell me what to do, and takes the game controller and just goes full speed ahead. Like, again, it's a miracle Stockton Rush didn't get anyone killed sooner.
He had on sonar, clear sonar image, you could see the wreck, and boom, as I said, it's not very deep, visibility's not excellent, but it was clear enough, good ambient light that day, and
it's even a little smaller.
He came straight down, hard on the bottom, no trimming, no ballast, nothing. Smash straight down on the bottom, visibility went everywhere, you could see a silhouette, and it was the two clients.
Well, when he says visibility went everywhere, it means he smashed down onto the bottom of the ocean and all this dust kicked up, because, you know, he was being really rough in his approach.
That were sitting in the viewing dome right next to the acrylic. And they were like, oh my God, we are right on the wreck. So I said to Stockton, please, all stop telling me what to do. Stockton, all stop. We have to see what's going on here. We have to look at our surroundings, which is standard practice for any competent submersible pilot. And from there, visibility cleared. We could see metal plates, and we could clearly see the starboard side of the bow of the Andrea Doria. We could see all the debris, we could see hawser lines, we could see panels coming off. It was an absolute mess. So I said, Stockton, please, and he just kept arguing with me in the sub. Very unbecoming of a submersible pilot. I was trying to guide him, I'm trying to give the best course of action to get him out of it. No matter what, I'm doing this. So he blew it.
So yeah, he wouldn't even listen to the experts he hired. Never mind outside experts who were trying to warn him. He wouldn't even listen to the experts he hired for their expertise, because he was smarter than everybody else. He was absolutely confident in that, and he couldn't be wrong. And it led to the death of him and 4 other people.
Air in the tank, in the ballast tank, came off the bottom, motored full stick ahead, unbeknownst to everybody else, and I don't know why. He decided to turn the submersible 180 degrees.
You don't know why, it's because he's a fucking idiot. That's why.
At speed, still coming ahead, So he wasn't looking at his surroundings. He could have quite easily went up into the viewing dome. He could have went up into the tower because it's got a clear...
Yeah, the Cyclops actually had, like, a viewing dome and a hatch, unlike the fucking Titan.
Acrylic hatch on there. And he basically drove at full speed into the port side of the bow, and we could hear the cracking of the fairing as he got us jammed in underneath. So
yeah, he got them, Stockton Rush got them stuck on the debris of one of the most dangerous shipwrecks after not listening to his own expert who told him, please don't even go near it. And he just said, don't tell me what to do, and just launched the damn thing right toward it with him, Lockridge, and like 3 paying customers on board.
I'm not going to say how foul my language was, but it wasn't good.
An angry Scotsman, yeah. But again, like I keep saying, it's a miracle he didn't get anyone killed sooner.
And at that point, it was unprofessional behaviour of him. He started to panic. And the first thing was, do we have enough life support on board? I was like, stop, of course we got enough life support. We need to get out here. When do you think the dive team could come to get us out? Stockton, please, give me the controls. I'm going to get us out of this. We're stuck, we're stuck, we're stuck. Repeatedly, every time I went to take the controller from him, he pushed it further and further behind him, inside the submersible itself. I said, I can be quite vocal sometimes. At that point, it went on and on and on. I'm looking up inside the upper hatch. I could see where there was fishing line draping over the top of the sub, all the metal rebar. There was debris everywhere. He never once got out the seat in the back of the sub to go and look at his surroundings. So I said, let's get a communications check. Let's talk to the top side, let them know what's going on. What if there's no comms? I'm like, give me the controls. Let me talk to them. Let me talk to top side, and I'm going to get us out of this. This went on and on and on for a period of time. And eventually it took one of the paying clients to turn round, and Renata, who you're interviewing on Thursday, she shouted at Stockton to give me the effing controller. She had tears in her eyes. He reached round behind him.
I mean, I'm sure she fucking did have tears in her eyes. Say, give him the fucking controller. Like, can you imagine how terrifying that is? You're stuck on a wreck at the bottom of the ocean in this little shitbox tube of a submersible. Anyway, he was about to tell the good part of the story. I'm gonna back up a little bit.
Stockton to give me the effing controller. She had tears in her eyes. He reached round behind him. I had my head up inside the tower, so I'm still looking at the wreck, and he clattered it off the right side of my head.
So yes, after refusing to give him the controller so he could get them unstuck from one of the most dangerous shipwrecks, after Stockton got themselves wedged in there, he threw the controller that controls the entire submarine at the side of Lockridge's head. I know he says they have backups, but can you imagine if he just, like, shattered that fucking thing? Like, I guess they would have to wait for a dive team to come get them out of there. And they weren't as deep as the Titanic, thankfully. But, yeah, deep under the fucking ocean, in front of paying customers, he hooks the one thing that controls the whole sub at the head of his expert he's refusing to listen to. Again, it's amazing he didn't get somebody killed sooner, and he is the sole culprit of this entire fucking disaster.
The controller landed on the deck plate. One of the buttons came off, the robust PlayStation controller. I picked it up, repaired it, and had us out 10-15 minutes. Motored away from the wreck, came away 50 metres using the sonar, turned us round, dropped down, and I said, that is what we're supposed to do. And at that point, he was upset. He said, I owe you one, anything I can do for you. We came back on board the ship, and the divers had to reattach us onto the MS Lars once we recovered to the surface, because the deck skids were so badly damaged when he did the departing from the platform, because he did it.
Yeah, and he damaged the skids of the fucking submarine. Or submersible, rather. You call things the small submersibles, but he damaged the fucking, like, skids underneath it where the weights are. Doing this shit.
Did it incorrectly. And came back up on top. Obviously, the paying clients, I know one of them was definitely...
Okay, maybe the Cyclops was a PlayStation controller. Maybe I'm just an idiot, and they switched to Xbox later. I don't know.
A good friend of Stockton's. We had Renata and one of Renata's friends. And from there, it was all, oh, cheers. David saved us. Slight exaggeration. It shouldn't have got to the stage it got to.
Oh, shit.
If he...
It shouldn't have gotten to the stage it got to. You can say about this entire company.
Anyway had behaved like any other submersible pilot I know and looked at his surroundings, talked on the radio, you know, on the communications, let the topside know so there's an issue. He didn't do it. And then because people were cheering and the passengers were obviously very grateful for what I did, which to me is just my job, at that point he stopped talking to me. And
yeah, so because the customers were saying, oh, David saved us, David saved the day and got us out of a pinch, Stockton, like, petulantly refused to talk to him for, like, the rest of the trip. Like a fucking child. This man was 61 years old, by the way. Stockton was 61 fucking years old.
Yeah, it went on from there. Within a few months.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yeah, sorry.
I appreciate that.
No worries.
Just want to ask you a few questions
Of
with
course.
regards to the injury at Doria. Did the skids get stuck in the bottom of the ocean floor?
They got stuck under metal plates right up at the bow. The way he drove it down, down, it was so hard, there was metal plates lifted up underneath the mud, and the metal plates landed up on the front of the landing skids. Staring at the starboard side of the bow before
So
he did that maneuver.
He could have easily torn the bottom of the fucking hull open, from what he's saying here, landing on those metal plates.
That took us in onto the port side and jammed the fairing underneath.
And just to be clear, did you state, you didn't state this, but did he throw the controller at you at that
That's
point?
correct. And he hit me on the side of my head on the starboard side, yeah.
Starboard side of your head. Fucking nerd.
And in that situation, had you not been there to get it out, or to assist in maneuvering the submersible to a safe place, what would have been the emergency response or procedure from topside, or
of course,
as a pilot?
Yeah, absolutely. So we would have notified topside immediately, which is what I wanted to do. And on call, when we left Boston, we notified the US Coast Guard what we were going to be doing, the port authorities, when we were taking the vehicle out. And we also, and I can't remember the name of them, I may have documentation on it, there was a commercial diving company that I communicated with, and they did an agreement with us that if there was any issue during the dive, they would come out and offer assistance. They had a full air and mixed gas system to do deep diving to bring us back out. In coordination with the vessel captain at the time, anytime we were going out, what we would do is, because we didn't have another asset on board the ship, what we would do is, me personally, I would reach out to organisations that are working in the area. It's very easy to find out. I had people that I knew that worked for Oceaneering, some of the companies that would work Gulf of Mexico, East Coast, West Coast of America. So I would reach out to them and they would know what we were going to do. So anytime we would do an operation, that was part of my job.
Okay, I think that's about all I want from that section. But yeah, so when I first heard the stories that he had thrown the controller on the sub, I thought that was a meme Reddit was making up. But it actually fucking happened. And he threw the controller at his director of marine operations. who had warned him not to run full speed at this fucking wreck, and he did anyway and got them stuck. And his poor little ego was bruised by this. But no, remember what he said at the beginning. Stockton was originally going to do this dive by himself until Lockridge needled him into letting him come to. So, imagine how catastrophic it would have been if it had just been Stockton by himself with his paying customers, getting them stuck on the fucking shipwreck. Like, Christ, he could have killed them all there! Now, I'm gonna let some supers come through while I get my next item.
Zeta Ridge 7 sent a super chat. Ocean Gate? More like Ocean Crash Gate, right?
I got him!
Nick Wolf sent a super chat. I saw the Netflix doc. It was a PS3 stick at one point.
Okay, so it was a PlayStation controller at some point. Gotcha.
Sent a super chat. Hess Scottish. I'd imagine a lot of see you next Tuesdays.
Yeah, that was probably a whole string. It was probably a sentence that was just nothing but a string of swears when this was going on, I imagine. He's being professional here, obviously. So, there's another story he tells about the fucking truck bed lining that I've brought up a few times. They literally, in order to water seal the hole, they sprayed it with fucking pickup truck bed liner for you know, commercial vehicles on land.
But there, that section itself, as part of the lawsuit, and after fighting OceanGate for 10 months to try and raise public awareness about this abomination of a submersible, it was destroyed by my attorneys along with their...
Like I said earlier, Lockridge, after leaving the company, like, was really trying to, you know, get people aware of what Stockton Rush was doing. But Stockton Rush basically just, it was a war of attrition. Stockton was richer, and basically, you know, just wore him down until he could no longer pursue this. And, like, was going to, like, sue him into, like, fucking oblivion. And so Lockridge just gave up. But I think he still, like, you know, was rabble-rousing a bit, but he couldn't do much to Stockton, unfortunately.
Paperwork. Now, the hull itself, you could physically see, I know I may be jumping here, but it's to do with the carbon. The hull itself, this 5-inch thick, you could honestly put micrometers down this, verniers. You can actually feed it down several millimeters. Hope you don't mind me using the metric system for that. Don't know how many thousandths of an inch that is, but you could actually put...
We use metric in science, at least. Come on, man.
the thin end of a vernier into some of these holes of this 5-inch thick hull. It was disgusting. Their mitigation, once they glued on the titanium end caps, okay, and we've all seen the gluing video, they were quite vocal about it on social media, the peanut butter.
We watched that earlier.
How they mitigated all these holes was they got this company in from Everett, Washington. They took the hull out into the car park at the back of the marina, and they created a pop-up tent and sprayed it with truck bed liner.
Yeah, so they just took the hull, put it outside, put a tent over it, and sprayed it with fucking rhino liner. To make it seaworthy. I hope by this point I don't have to tell you how insane that is.
Which I have never seen or heard of in any subsea application in my life.
Well, no shit!
So
it's
basically,
retarded.
in the back of your F-150 or your Ram truck, the hardy material that you stand on to stop it getting rusty and scratched, that's what OceanGate engineering team decided to do to stop water getting in through these holes.
And as he pointed out earlier, they had a lot of young people just out of college who haven't even gone to college in, because Stockton started saying, I'm tired of these old fogey engineers who tell me this is suicidally dangerous. I'm gonna bring in, like, these 22-year-olds who don't know any better, and they can be my team. Like, he was, like... he was just tempting fate all the time. But again, like I said, it's like he just would bang his head against reality and think he can change it. It's unbelievable.
Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm looking at all your faces here that's got the common sense to question this method, especially when it's never been done before.
He just pointed out the people listening at the hearing were all looking like very shocked and skeptical just now. I'm sure they were.
Appalling. Absolutely appalling.
What did that coating do for the outside with regards to the carbon fiber and your ability to conduct a visual inspection of the hull?
You could not. So on the hull itself, I can't remember what they called it, but when they were doing the winding, I'm sure one of the engineers will give you the correct wording for this. There was some sort of green coating that was put over the mandrel, and that material covered the inside of the carbon face itself. Now, when they removed the mandrel, that green, yellowy sort of material, whatever it is, covered the carbon. You couldn't see the carbon. When they stuck on the titanium segments at the end to form the pressure boundary, you couldn't see the end of the carbon anymore, the affected 5-inch surface. And when they...
So basically there was absolutely no way to actually do a visual inspection of this thing, and they were just going to use acoustic monitoring to tell them if the thing was failing. But again, just to bring it up again, you didn't even need the acoustic monitoring system because you could hear the damn thing failing in real time. This is from the Netflix documentary.
Crack located.
And again, to emphasize, that is the sound of the layers of the carbon fiber coming apart from the inside. And he just decided to ignore that because he was absolutely adamant he was going to make carbon fiber work just somehow. Just somehow it's going to work. Oh, I already had it up here. Nice.
Applied the truck bed liner. I mean, I don't know how thick they actually applied it on, but you couldn't see the carbon fiber. So that hull could and would never have been able to be inspected by anybody to see any sort of degradation, any potential faults. I mean, like steel or titanium, if you've got a known fault, you can see it, you can NDT it. They decided not, as I said, to do NDT, jumping. But yeah, the materials they used for this, you wouldn't be able to inspect that carbon fiber. And for me to highlight all those visible issues, and you'd be naive not to say they were not visible, they dismissed me and said they were going ahead with it. And they had already booked clients for that mission in 2018. They were going ahead with us.
Yeah, he was booking clients before they even had any submersibles built, is another point of pressure here. Not to make another pun by accident, but like, yeah, so he had paying customers on the line, he had his ego on the line, his reputation on the line, his overwhelming desire to be a genius innovator like Elon Musk, which is all what fed into this. I think that's all we really need. Oh. Does he mention how they just left it in a parking lot all winter?
Was this report provided to the board of directors?
So I asked for it to be provided to the board of directors. I spoke to Bonnie about it. Unfortunately, from my understanding was I submitted it. And I didn't do it out of badness. I didn't do it for any ulterior motive. I did this so that all my voice concerns were put down on paper, and so that they could actually go, wow.
Yeah, he actually did his job, made a report, and Stockton Rush got mad at him for that. We're going to hear that audio, too, in a minute.
And see where he's coming with this. There's a lot of things on this report that could affect the integrity of this hull. A lot of things from the out of standard viewport, from the just everything. I mean, I know I sent you the images of last week, and I don't know whether they'll be on the system, but it was the ballast system. I mean,
oh, hey, Billy Donuts is here with some sea salt donuts. Hey.
there's just so many. Excuse me a second. I don't know if you've got them on. I'm happy.
We
if they're
have
not.
them we have them embedded into an exhibit.
No problem at all. But if you don't mind, can I discuss them?
In just 1 second, we'll bring the exhibit up so everybody can see.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yes, please, bring us to the exhibit. I don't think I've listened to this part, so let's
It'll be
listen a little
exhibit
longer.
91. I think it's Titan Systems. And if you could scroll to the pages that I had stated.
Yeah, there's them gluing the damn thing on. We looked at that earlier. What the hell is this shit?
Mr. Lockridge?
Yeah.
What is the image to the far right?
So the image. that
Mr.
I've
Lockridge,
got-
what the fuck is
oh,
this?
sorry. Right. Okay. So Stockton.
It's on page 9 of the exhibit.
I will say it. Stockton like to do things on the cheap. Okay. There was obviously cost implications. There was a lot of investment went into this, but that image that you're looking at on the right-hand side is Stockton's idea of a scrubber unit.
Recorder, can you please zoom in on that?
Now,
What is the
Zoom in on
purpose
it,
of
you
a
idiot.
scrubber?
okay.
So it looks like this scrubber unit was just like a fucking plastic box bought from like Michael's for like $10. So let's see where this is going.
So, to maintain the atmosphere inside a manned submersible, what we've got is we've got small cylindrical drums and we put a chemical in there called soda zerb. Now what happens is to maintain those submersibles at atmospheric pressure so that you don't see an overpressure, what we do is as you're breathing out, the carbon dioxide is absorbed into this product, and what you've got to do is you've got to top up the oxygen content. That allows the atmosphere to be controlled.
Is this their oxygen recycling system with the fucking label from Walmart still on it? What the fuck?
Okay, so you're not bringing additional air into the chamber itself. If you were to do that, you would overpressurize from the internal. So easiest way to describe it is technical divers, where what they'll do is they will breathe out, it's absorbed into the CO2 absorbent, and because of that, there's no bubbles come up. And then what they'll do is they'll apply oxygen. Same principle for manned submersibles as well, and they all use this. Stockton decided not to go down the route of using a known manufacturer. As I said, one of the contract companies that I work for, James Fisher Defence, they also own Divex. They design, build for hyperbaric chambers, manned submersibles, properly built CO2 scrubbers. So that
When was this picture taken?
That was taken from...
So he could have just bought one from a company off the shelf, ready to go. And instead he got a plastic bin from fucking Walmart and it looks like he like glued a little fan onto it or something. Hopefully he explains this more.
Memory. It may have been 2017. May have been 2017.
Well, it's like how he got. Wasn't there like something about how he got like the lights from like fucking Tent World or something? And he bragged about getting like cheap discount carbon fiber material from Boeing. It's like, Jesus Christ, bro, this is to go 2 miles under the fucking ocean. You can't fuck around with this kind of stuff. He fucked around and found out in the worst way.
In fact, I think it was
And
2017
again, it's just a shame he took 4 other people with him, or otherwise I'd be really, really, really mean about this.
because at the end, because they wanted myself and a couple of individuals to do a test of it. Now, as you can see, it's a plastic tote from Home Depot. It's still got the labeling on it. And
A plastic tote from Home Depot. I guess they call those totes, but yeah, like I said, Walmart. I said Walmart and Michael's, fine, Home Depot, whatever. It's just like, this is like fucking something I would keep like dog toys in, or like Christ!
A fan from a PC, a computer. He wanted to do a test on it.
It is a PC fan. I knew it. It is a PC fan. It's a really small one, too. So he got a plastic bin and a fan for a PC as his fucking, like, oxygen recycler for his fucking submarine. What the fuck?
Defense, they also own Divex. They design, build for hyperbaric chambers, manned submersibles.
I went back too far.
From memory. It may have been 2017. May have been 2017. In fact, I think it was 2017 because, at the end, because they wanted myself and a couple of individuals to do a test of it. Now, as you can see, it's a plastic tote from Home Depot, still with the labeling on it, and a fan from a PC, a computer.
Yeah, hey Zaruki, that's the thing about this story. I mean, this is new information to me. I haven't watched the full hearings personally. So, yeah, no matter how crazy you think this fucking situation was, it always gets worse. It somehow always gets worse.
He wanted to do a test on it. I obliged just to humour him. And we did that in the sub, and it didn't work.
Of course it didn't fucking work. Look at this thing.
If they used this contraption inside Titan, you would need to speak to somebody that was involved afterwards. But during 2017 and the start of 2018, when I was there, that was his intent, to use that device.
Yeah, he was there when they had the Cyclops 1 and 2. I don't think he was there when they had built the Titan, because, I mean, if he was still there when they were building the Titan, he probably would have been losing his fucking mind.
And the next image?
Okay, so the next image here is...
If you could describe.
Yeah.
It's the...
Tell us more, please.
High-pressure variable ballast tank.
Correct, if that's
ballast
what you want to call it. We'll call it that loosely. This bag itself was, I don't know if this was on Titan or not, but this was meant to be the system that was going on there.
Next page.
That's okay, I'll wait until it's up.
Oh, there's the controller, guys. The infamous controller. We saw it.
Can you give the page number that you're referencing there?
Okay, it's my own notes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Wait, if it's not up, it's
It is. I have it. We just have to get to the... There we go.
No worries. There you go.
Variable ballast system.
Okay.
So it'll be the...
So the system on the port side on the left.
Guys, look at... Let me bring this up in Distractor Tron real quick. I want to highlight something here. Look at the fucking hand-drawn arrows on fucking duct tape or masking tape or something on this thing. Oh my god, how did this man get away with this for so long?
I don't have images of that. That was not taken by myself. That was... I'm sure I saw that in the media. That may have been done during one of the expeditions.
Zoom into the image on the right.
Okay. So the image on the right, which I hold in my hand, the cream-coloured bag that you can see on the right-hand side, this was the ballast bag to assist with positive buoyancy. This was the intent. I know Mr. Carterson discussed it yesterday. The design of Titan was to eject these drop weights that would allow them to get neutral trim, and then once they'd finished the dive, eject more. That will give them positive buoyancy to return to the surface.
Okay.
As another form of achieving positive buoyancy, they decided, this was Scott Griffith and Stockton Rush, and they decided to use this Coast Guard. It's an old fueling bag from the Coast Guard. Don't know where they purchased it from. And they manufactured this, rigged this up. I mean, it had to be cleaned out. It was still full of fuel.
So they could have gotten, like, the proper equipment for positive buoyancy to help them, you know, rise to the surface. Instead, they got an old fucking fueling bag that wasn't even designed for this purpose. Hi, Sephiroth, what's up? You're a little late to the stream. We're talking about just how fucking poorly designed the OceanGate Titan sub was, and how it's a fucking miracle Stockton Rush didn't get anyone killed sooner than he did. Hi, Esme. We're learning about how they got an old fueling bag as one of their fucking like balloons for positive buoyancy to get back to the surface.
And the intent for this was to provide additional buoyancy to the submersible itself, okay, using high pressure air. The black hose that you can see coming off the bag itself, this was from, this is comical, shop vac, okay? So in the UK we call it a Hoover. This was
So it was a vacuum tube. Did someone have to just sit in the sub and like blow into it manually? Is that what we're gonna hear next?
glued onto the bag itself. The orange line that you can see coming off of the shop vac hose, their intention was when the hose is in the down position, the air will be trapped inside the bag, allowing the bag to be full, allowing them to achieve positive buoyancy. When they wanted to vent the bag without dropping their drop weights to start going down on a dive, they would, and I'll jump on to the next, if that's okay.
Oh, hold on just one second.
Yep, no problem.
I'm gonna grab the page for the recorder.
Keep up, guy, come on. Keep me in suspense here.
That would be page 15 of the exhibit. And it will be the top
See the fucking
left
rust
picture.
there just now. Look at the rust! Please, I need to learn how this worked. I need to learn how insane this was. Please.
You
Please.
need to zoom out a little bit.
Stop fucking around with your images.
And Mr. Lockridge, what are we seeing in that top left
That's
picture?
the drop
Okay,
weights.
what you see in the top left picture, the orange line that you saw coming down from the shop vac hose, which would allow the bag to vent or trap the air once the high pressure air was applied to the bag itself. This was controlled, this was built by Stockton Rush in his garage at home. This is an old fishing reel winding system. I'm not a fisherman, so I'm sure somebody will be able to correct me on this. But he rigged this up and it was on a motor, so he could send a signal to this winder, this fishing reel system, filled inside a oil-filled container. And this would allow that orange line that you saw in the previous image to move the shop vac hose up and down. That's what that was. That was rigged.
So there was no valve in the hose. They just had an old like fishing reel move the hose up and down to let the air in or out. Instead of having any kind of valve system. Oh my fucking god. Alright. I can't take any more of this. Or else some supers come through and I'm gonna go to my next thing.
Zeta Ridge 7 sent a super chat. Stockton the sociopath strikes again. R.I.P. Bozo.
Yeah, like I said, he's the only one I'll make fun of. He's the only one I'll make fun of, but
Magic
Jesus.
Man sent a super chat. Metal must be welded? Well, I'll just use industrial glue, because I'm stuck. Boom. Collision emoji.
Yeah.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Ocean Gate. More like Ocean Grave.
Yeah, got him. But yeah, this was doomed from the fucking start, man.
Space_Prince, sun with face emoji, sent a super chat. Just got back from being on the water, kinda morbid. At least the boat I was on isn't put together with scotch tape and a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and
Smooth
Hoover
Illustrator
tubes.
sent a super chat. To quote Wilhelmina Packard from Atlantis The Lost Empire. We all gonna die. Cigarette emoji.
That's how I would have filled on the Android
Venom
Doria one.
Wifey sent a super chat. I bet that OceanGate is Lily Orchard new name /J.
If she needs to pick another new one,
Paige
yeah.
sent a super chat. I think I understand that Robespierre guy a little more.
I don't know who that is, but thank you for the super chat.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. It's just a little cracked. It's still good. It's still good. It's just a little imploded. It's still good. It's still good.
This is basically his fucking attitude. That was basically his fucking attitude the whole time, yeah.
Cryohazard sent a super chat. This stream basically reminded me of a part of my previous job. Thank you.
Home Depot? I imagine.
Cardian Joker sent a super chat. I literally don't understand why millionaires do things on the cheap or do things as inefficiently as possible.
I don't, because I guess, well, in Stockton's case, he seemed to think he was automatically, like, better and smarter than everybody else, and he could just be, like, you know, the Tony Stark of submersibles, and everything would just work out fine, and he didn't have to follow the rules. Probably because rich people are so detached from reality and, like, the lives of, the day-to-day lives of normal fucking people, which does lead them to think like this, but, like, this was to the point of fucking insanity. And again, he got 4 other people killed with him.
Scones and Jam sent a super chat. Ruby is all of us.
Are you Ruby or are you Steven right now? How are we feeling, chat? How are we feeling?
Kitten Fart sent a super chat. Look at our ballast system, bro, we're cooked.
I know, and these are the weights, the rusted-ass weights they would drop. What the
Hikari
fuck?
You sent a super chat. Watching this stream like Skinner reading the letter in letter to ye.
That's what the situation is! No matter how bad and crazy you think it is, it always gets worse! It's unbelievable!
Cardian Joker sent a super chat. OceanGate's sounding more and more like Heisenberg's meth empire in Breaking Bad, except the nautical version.
We had a good thing going, you stupid son of a bitch, except they didn't even have a good thing going. This was always doomed! Anyway. So this is a part of the Netflix documentary again. I think this might have music, so I'm gonna pause my music. This is from the other channel that helped me research this.
I don't want
this
anybody.
is,
I don't want.
Shush, 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 shush. Not yet, Stockton. Not yet. Shush. So this is a guy called True Crime Rocket Science, who I also have linked in the description. So he's also done a ton of videos on this. I think even more than Solar Eclipse Timer has. Where is his Titan playlist, though? OceanGate Coast Guard hearing. He's got the whole Coast Guard hearing up, which is very, very, what am I trying to say? Convenient for everybody. But, I can't find his playlist right now, but he does have, like, just a ton. He just uploaded one 4 hours ago. So he also has a ton of videos on, the whole Titan situation. Looks like he also has stuff on John Benet Ramsey and Madeleine McCann, which I might watch more of his other true crime videos. So this guy's whole shtick is he approaches true crime stories from a scientific perspective. So, of course, the Titan sub was like, you know, just right up his alley. So, but he's got a ton of good videos on it. So if you want to learn more about this crazy situation, check him out. But this is audio from the Netflix documentary, so I'm going to steal his video because he has a nice little copyright infringing TV here to stop copyright strikes. So this is audio of Stockton Rush firing David Lockridge from the company after their little tussle on the Andrea Doria dive where Lockridge had to get them unstuck from the wreck, and Stockton threw the fucking controller that controls the whole sub at his head. So we're gonna listen to this, and it's only 12 minutes, we might just watch the whole thing.
Anybody in this company who is uncomfortable with what we're doing, we're doing weird and I am definitely out of the mold. There's no question. I'm doing things that are completely non-standard, and I'm sure.
See, and even in private, Stockton Rush is always like this. I'm going against the grain. I'm a maverick. I'm an innovator. I'm the underdog. I'm you know, breaking all the rules, and I'm gonna show everybody one day. But it's like, just because you're like breaking the rules doesn't mean like what you're doing is going to work or that you even know what the fuck you're doing. You have to know what the rules are. You have to understand the rules before you can actually break them effectively. You know? Just breaking the rules on their own is not, like, a mark of achievement, and he seemed to think it was. Like, oh, I'm using carbon fiber when nobody else did. I'm a rule breaker. Aren't I a cool guy? And it's like, nobody uses carbon fiber because it'll crunch like a fucking soda can under the ocean, and it did, you fucking idiot.
The industry thinks I'm an idiot. That's fine. They've been doing that for 8 years.
Yeah, everyone thinks you're a fucking idiot now.
I'm doing things that are completely non-standard, and I'm sure the industry thinks I'm an idiot. That's fine. They've been doing that for 8 years, and I'm going to continue on the way.
Yeah, for 8 years, everybody who's an expert in this has told you not to do this, and yet he kept going. Like I said, banging his head against reality, expecting things to change.
I'm doing, but I'm not going to force people to join my religion if they don't want to.
I test something with people in it. I don't understand that. To me, it was just sheer arrogance.
I got nightmares in my head. I feel
this is like a really sick, free music he uses in the beginning. Unfortunately, the rest of the song isn't as good as this. That was very sad.
I got nightmares in my
This part's like fire, and the rest of the song sucks.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the highly anticipated Netflix documentary on the 2023 OceanGate explosion is out now. And one of the seminal moments is this one. This audio recording where you have Stockton Rush basically admitting what a maverick he is in his own words. You know, he knows what people think of him. He's saying, I'm going to persist regardless. I'm going to get rid of people who disagree with me. It is an extraordinary recording. Let's listen to some more of it.
Is there a keyword? We need David on this crew. In my opinion, we need him here.
King Stockton's made a decision. I just feel a tad let down right now with your comments. I'm pretty gutted, to be honest with you.
Full screen so we can see the text a little better.
This is the first time on paper I've ever put any health and safety concerns. By God, Stockton, you know, every expedition we've had issues. And I've been there for you. Every single expedition.
I'm not denying that.
I love the way he says, I'm not denying that. That there have been safety issues or issues on every single dive. I'm not denying that, and yet that is exactly what he was doing.
I didn't know what to say, but I was blown away that at this point they were willing to play Russian roulette.
Before we get to the rest of this review of the Netflix documentary, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Bear in mind there's a playlist with almost 100 episodes on it. I'll put a link to that in the description.
I couldn't find the playlist, but he does have one. So yes, please also check out, and if you'd like to, subscribe to True Crime Rocket Science. He also does really good work, just like Solar Eclipse Timer. So these two were my goats in learning everything I could about this crazy, crazy situation.
Description. If you're finding this analysis worthwhile, meaningful, interesting, please do hit the thanks button, and let's get started.
Every 3 to 4 minutes, there was loud gun.
I probably will be super thanksing both of them just because I played their videos and they're smaller creators and I'm not critiquing them.
Shot light noises. It's a heck of a sound to hear when you're that far under the ocean in a craft that has only been down that deep once before.
You know, even when Lockridge is fired, he's mild-mannered and charming. He even says, I'm a tad gutted. He's kind of understated.
Yeah, and you could hear, like, he was pretty sarcastic a few times in the hearings, like he couldn't help himself.
Which is very different to Stockton, who's really over the top. And think about it, Lockridge had a lot invested in Russia's scheme. I think most people would be pretty emotional. And, I mean, after all, he'd uprooted himself and his family to move to Scotland, to the far side of the continental USA. Now, this guy is giving him the boot. Titan, the OceanGate submersible disaster, delves into the accounts of staff members, not just Lockridge, but others, that gives us a lot more context to what was really going on behind the scenes. And obviously the events that led to the Titan submersible implosion. You know, it's not just something random that happened. There were real dynamics playing out towards an inevitable denouement. And I mean, all of this led to the deaths of 5 people. You know, in true crime, we often deal with crimes, and there's seldom a body count of 5. In this analysis, we re-examine the meltdown between Rush and Lockridge that led to his firing. Did you guys know about that? Anyone remember what it was? It was the moment Rush literally threw the controller at Lockridge, swearing at him. This is underwater, after he'd crashed the sub into another wreck, not the Titanic, another wreck, and couldn't get loose. By the way, they actually got stuck behind the Titanic in another incident. And I think in that case, PH Nargile got them out. I covered that in this video published around a year ago. You can view the entire playlist here. The contentious relationship between Lockridge and the CEO came to a head, this according to The Independent, when Rush steered the sub into a dangerous position during a trip to the SS Andrea Doria wreckage ahead of the Titan tour. An incident the former sub-pilot said was a complete turnaround and resulted in the end of their relationship. In other words, he's just saying that Stockton kind of made like a complete U-turn. And think about people that are like that just switch on a dime. Do you really want to trust your fate to a person like that in this sort of situation? What happened here was that Stockton lost face. He was humiliated. He was embarrassed. And then like a child, kind of had a tantrum. And then he just got rid of someone who meant well, someone who was very well qualified. You hear someone in the background of that audio saying, we need him. And they did. But, in one instance, he's made to feel smaller. And
yeah, my face is probably getting triggered by the clicks on my loud mechanical keyboard, guys. Don't worry about it. I have to have my mechanical keyboards, all right? I'm autistic. Don't bully me.
Lockridge raising these safety concerns is making him feel smaller as well. And what is he wanting? He's wanting to feel larger. He's wanting to be larger than life. And this person's in his way. Just get rid of him. And this is the essence of entitlement, wanting to have your way even when your way is the wrong way and you know it. Probably in Stockton's whole life.
He basically just summed up everything I've been saying very articulately. Thank you, True Crime Rocket Science.
He was used to defying the rules in the way a lot of privileged people can and do, but without serious consequences. Perhaps in even doing that, it even felt positive. That whenever he did that, he felt better about himself, that was the right way to go, because not only did he know better, he was better. And he was more gifted, smarter, came from this almost royal bloodline. And so didn't he ultimately know better than anyone else? What do you think the answer is? This may have worked in his former life, but playing Maverick with submersible tech, which is an established science, they don't need to reinvent the wheel here. It was literally like Russian roulette, and the cyclical fatigue becomes like loading the gun with another bullet each time they go down, and then spinning the cylinder once more. At a certain point, it's like spinning the cylinder with a full quota of bullets inside, pulling the trigger and expecting a safe ride. That's not smart, it's lunacy. According to The Independent, in one clip taken from inside the sub, Rush is seen almost crashing the vessel into a debris field, forcing Lockridge to intervene. According to a review in the New York Times, quote,
yeah, there is footage of him and Lockridge, kind of tense in the sub. Unfortunately, it wasn't footage of the time he threw the controller. I don't think that footage exists. If it's out there somewhere, please someone find it. I want it.
Audio recordings capture Rush in fits of frustration, alongside startling footage of him cutting corners during an expedition. Close enough, he declares, after reaching 3,939 meters on a dive meant to hit the 4,000-mile milestone.
And that's the one with the popping noises I keep playing, by the way.
So you kind of get the sense that he lost his nerve. And think about it. Do you want a pilot? Do you want to entrust your fate to someone who is having fits of frustration? And I think someone who is grandiose is someone who can inspire you. You get caught up in his vision. You get inspired by that. But do you really want to be with someone like that on the top of Everest? And I think in a real sense, going down in the sub was like going to Everest, except you didn't.
I don't know why people go to Everest either, to be honest. The first time I heard that people just casually use dead bodies as, like, markers on their way up Everest, I was like, what the fuck? Why does anybody do this?
You really need to do anything. You just let gravity do its thing. And there's some images of people holding flags next to the Titanic, being viewed through the window. But it's actually very different. The Titanic's a graveyard. The top of Everest is kind of like a symbol of human endeavor.
No, Everest is also a graveyard, like I just said.
And people were trying to make this the same thing. But then add to that the haunting soundtrack of carbon fibers breaking, constantly breaking at depth. And then one appreciates the case for giving this well-known story another look. Grandiosity, that's an opposite word for this dude, isn't it? What is it? It's an impressive and imposing appearance or style.
More like delusions of grandeur, but
Well, that's exactly what he is. But it's often pretentious as well. And it deals with things like ambition, ostentatiousness, boldness, but sometimes in a foolish way. Stockton's basically just very pretentious, which is to say inauthentic, which is to say, isn't it dishonest about reality? And what
I think on some level he kind of bought into his own bullshit, but this was like his rationalization, his justification for why, no, I can't be wrong, I'm gonna make carbon fiber work, I'm a genius, I have to save face in front of everybody, it's going to work, come hell or high water, I'll just change reality with my thoughts, I really feel like that's where it got to.
What happens when we defy reality for long enough?
Nothing good.
According to The Independent, Lockridge, OceanGate's former director of marine operations, held reservations about the vessel's carbon fiber hull, and he said he only entered the project on the assumption
show this full
that
footage
the
later,
Titan
but
sub
yeah.
would become classed, meaning it would be independently certified as safe. And I think Stockton knew that was never going to happen, which I think is a pretty damning indictment in itself. Stockton wasn't interested in that. He thought he could do what Elon Musk was doing with rockets, basically a move.
Except Elon Musk isn't even good at what he does either. So it's just one mediocre rich white man, admiring another mediocre rich white man, and neither one of them knows what the fuck they're doing.
Fast and break things philosophy. And with a name like Rush, he seemed fated to do that. But the crushing depths of the ocean are merciless when it comes to disobeying the laws of physics. It eventually became a statistical certainty, not if but when, just a matter of time before
Absolutely.
Stockton's ego yielded to reality.
And I'm sure the industry thinks I'm an idiot. That's fine. They've been doing that for 8 years.
The industry thinks I'm a fucking idiot. That's fine. I've been doing that, or they've been doing that for 8 years, but he was doing that for 8 years. Being a fucking idiot for 8 years. And now the whole world, almost the whole world, don't they think the same thing about him as well? What
I
do
sure
you
do.
think? Have you watched the Netflix documentary? Let me know in
I
the
sure
comments.
have.
Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.
So yeah, he has done a few videos on the Netflix documentary, which I do recommend watching if you can. It's very good. Like I said earlier, it's one of those types of documentaries where they just have interviews and archival footage and news footage and stuff, and they sort of just link it all together into a narrative, and I really do like that style of documentary. It just feels a little bit more authentic and raw to me. And the BBC documentary is also good information-wise, but the style of it, like I said earlier, is much more sensationalist, newsy, 60-minute special episode, hard-hitting facts, blah, 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 dramatic music, that sort of thing, with a narrator. So two very different styles of documentary. Both have very good information, have different interviews. Both are worth watching. I tried my hardest to watch the BBC one with a VPN. None of them worked. I ended up watching it on Daily Motion, but that's besides the point. I'm going to let some supers through, and we're probably going to wrap up the stream with a bit more footage that I wanted to show you
Alpha
guys.
Eagle sent a super chat. That submarine sandwich submarine from the new Phineas and Ferb episode is better put together than this thing. And that's made of bread.
I wonder if that was a reference.
Cryohazard sent a super chat. Oh, it was Chemical Deacon. We would warn people to stay away from the pressured tanks that are linked on trucks after they fell.
Oh, was that what the green stuff was that he was talking about? Yeah.
Bluge sent a super chat. It feels like God gave them so many chances.
I know, right? That's what I was saying to her. I think even God gave up on this guy after being like, okay, this time he's gonna stop for sure.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. Are we sure this guy is a Batman villain?
Or a Captain Planet villain?
Dana_Brain sent a super chat. Just want to say you drew a very nice Steven side.
Oh, thank you. I'm getting a little better at drawing Steven. For whatever fucking reason, he's always kind of hard for me to draw. I don't know why.
Bylonic sent a super chat. Everest is covered in frozen bodies and poop. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I was just saying earlier, the first time I heard that, you know, people just use dead bodies as trail markers and have cute nicknames for them, like Green Boots. I was like, what the fuck? That's fucking sociopathic. What is the matter with everybody?
Macax sent a super chat. All those dead on Everest. Why no Everest zombies?
Ooh, there's a new movie idea. Everest zombies, guys.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Stockton, I reject the reality and substitute my own.
And it got him killed along with 4 other people. Yay.
Cardian Joker sent a super chat. Give Elon Musk some credit. His attempted Mars expeditions don't have him going into space with super glue and a prayer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but he has people who can build the stuff for him. Stockton couldn't even fucking do that. He couldn't just hire people to build the stuff for him. Instead, he's taking a plastic bin and a PC fan to make his, like, oxygen recycling system in his fucking garage. Like, what the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Anyway, so for the, I'm pretty much done drawing anyway. We got at least one panel done today. That's good. Hopefully I'll be further along next stream. So to play out the stream, we're gonna watch the footage of the discovery and the recovery of the Titan sub after it imploded. So this doesn't really have any sounds. I'm gonna throw my music back on actually. Yeah, good. Silent Hill music, perfect. So there's the tail of the sub. I think that's what they found first. It's intact. Again, it was always the carbon fiber that was going to fail, not the titanium parts. I think this wasn't even a manned vessel. This was probably a robot. They were close to the Titanic, so they probably made it down there. And then whatever happened to make them drop their weights happened, and then it imploded. So, again, probably we're hearing some pretty terrible cracking sounds. Oh, hi, more Pegasus. You're my only recommendation after that. So here's another video of them discovering the remains. And again, there would be no human remains. They would have been vaporized by the energy release of the implosion. Hi, Bell Rookie. I'm actually going to be wrapping up soon, unfortunately. Welcome. So yeah, there's the carbon fiber hole. Crunched into a tiny, tiny thing. And there's the titanium dome on the end. So they basically, apparently, like, all the materials that weren't fleshy, delicate human remains got jammed into the titanium hole here, the viewport. You see the viewport's completely fine. So yeah, the only thing that failed was the carbon fiber hole. The only thing that was ever going to fail was the carbon fiber hole. So, I don't think... They probably didn't find much in the way of human remains outside of, like, cellular material, you know. Again, they would have been fucking vaporized. And that's all that's left of the thing that seated 5 people. And you can see the layers of the carbon fiber here all splintered and shit. It was probably splintered on the inside this whole time. think there's the other end cap over there. And again, this is probably a robotic submersible that is checking this out. Maybe we'll watch one of the videos demonstrating what it would have done to the bodies. Just, that'd be really morbid, I guess. It's for science! So next is the recovery of it. They actually did bring the whole thing up. They got it all. I mean, and there's a fishy. I don't know why they had to investigate. I mean, we all knew it was the fucking carbon fiber. So they sent a robotic arm down there to get it. Again, the titanium part's completely intact. But here he was saying, oh, everything else can fail, but the carbon fiber will be fine because it's super strong, guys. It's gonna work, guys. It's totally gonna work. It's absolutely going to work. Just trust me, bro. I think there's some other audio of him saying, I bet my life on it, but I'm not gonna die. I have no intention of dying. I'll be around for a long time. It's like, you can't just say that and it becomes real. That's magical thinking. Especially when you're doing something so suicidally dangerous. You can't just say, oh, I'll survive it. Don't worry, I'll survive it. It won't happen to me. Nothing will happen to me. I'll survive. Just because I'm me and I'm great and I'm awesome and I have positive thinking. Well, positive thinking can't save you from physics, unfortunately. I think maybe I'll look up the image of the debris once they got it to the surface. And this is more Silent Hill music, just there to be ironic, I think. Yeah, literally Stockton Rush's whole attitude was, I'm built different. I can defy reality and physics. No, you can't, bro. Now you're a cautionary tale about human hubris. Just one of many. So, they did recover all of it. They got it all to the surface. So, and again, the fucking titanium viewport was like the only thing that wasn't crunched and damaged. So, let's see. There are a few, just for shits and giggles. There are a few simulations of what would have happened to the bodies, if you guys are that curious. I probably should put in simulation if I want to find the ones I'm looking. Here we go. So this is basically what would have happened to the people inside. And this would have happened in nanoseconds. So it would have happened faster than their brains could even process it happening. So I think this is another one. This is a short, but I know there's like a full version of this, but we saw how shattered it was. I don't know if there was blood, but again, they were probably fucking vaporized. But this would have happened in nanoseconds. They would have no idea what was happening. But the hell of it is, again, they might have heard cracking noises beforehand, and maybe that'll be the last thing we play out on, is listening to the fucking cracking noises from the Netflix documentary again. This was Stockton Rush doing a test dive in the Bahamas by himself. And yeah. Oops. No.
Grab that fucking crack cocaine. I'll get your attention.
That is the sound of all the layers of carbon fiber delaminating in real time. So on the inside, it was already shattering, and it was only a matter of time before it imploded. He says close enough because he's at 3,900 feet instead of 4,000 feet. So yeah. That would be the story of Titan. We'll let the last super chats come through while I wrap up stream now. that was a good little Spurg session we just had about this insane situation that, again, is a cautionary tale about human ego and hubris and how, no, you can't defy nature just by wishing it. That's ridiculous.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. Osiris kids don't know who Captain Planet is.
Shut up! Trying to make me feel old.
Space Frog sent a super chat. Love your Ruby even if she's sad. Need more Ruby smile.
Yeah, we'll take Stockton off stream. We'll go back to my art.
Thomas93 sent a super chat. Robert Ballard would have many things to say.
Robert Ballard, that sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm uncultured.
Master Clockwork sent a super chat. Vader, I said no disintegration.
Yeah, they basically disintegrated. They would have, you know, just for that amount of energy.
Brain sent a super chat. What gets me is that he had to build everything. Then acted like a tantrum child like we didn't like his art project. Gus, we didn't understand him.
I know, but there's like human lives are in danger, man. How can you justify this? That's the thing. Like, he never seemed to appreciate the danger of it all, and just kept going, well, I'll make it work because I'm a genius, you know, just trust me, bro, you know, no matter what, I'll just make it work. Okay, so that's about the end of the stream now. So I'm glad you guys decided to join me on this odd topic for one of my streams. We'll be a little more on point next week, because next week I am finally going to do another stream on the Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss Hate'em and VivziePop Hate'em in general. And I think we're going to focus on one particular person whose videos are pretty egregious. So you guys can look forward to that next week. After that, I'll have you guys voting on streams again. But I kind of want to do this one for Pride Month, just because they're so unbelievably homophobic. It's unbelievable.
Sent a super chat. If you want another horror story about pressure changes, the Byford Dolphin incident.
Yeah. People were mentioning that one. Earlier. I'm just like Googling it right now. It's like they were stuck in an oil rig, I think, and the pressure just basically exploded the divers. But anyway, yeah, so next week you can look forward to some more Has-Been Hate'em, I'm sure. I'll get canceled on Twitter again, as always happens, so I hope you guys look forward to that one. It'll definitely be a little more lighthearted, because we're just going to be bitching about cartoons as usual, instead of talking about real human deaths. I mean, just only between this and the Casey Anthony one have I done anything sort of true crime. When the mood strikes me again, I could. But it just happened that the anniversary of this fell at a Wednesday. So I'm glad you guys all enjoyed that and enjoyed me. This educational and terrifying. Thank you, Miss Jasmine. That's perfect description of this. Alright, so hopefully I'll catch you guys next week. I might do another No Man's Sky stream this weekend, and then I will let you guys vote on game streams again, but I've been really back into No Man's Sky again, recently.
Oblivion Blade TT sent a super chat. End of Steam tax.
Yay. No, it's not going to be Manga Common. It's not going to be Manga Common. It's somebody else whose videos I'm going to be looking at in all Hell of a Boss this time, since we kind of focused on Has-Been last time. But believe me, there's going to be a few of these VivziePop hate streams in me, because there's a lot out there to go over. And you guys have been expressing interest in more. So yeah, we'll be doing that next week. Anyway, thank you for coming. I'm going to go start dinner. Goodbye, everybody.